Hello, everybody. It's been a while. I think I streamed last month or thereabouts on this channel, but I am back again tonight to stream about a topic related to a video I'm about to put out. Last time I streamed about the really weird stuff that I found when I dug into is astrology real for the new channel that that I have launched now at this point. Actually, let me get rid of this. Um, but now what I'm focusing or refocusing the Aiden Paladin channel to be about is about politics directly, political psychology, political science stuff directly. The new channel will be for anything else, anything and everything else, scientifically, psychologically, in that kind of area. But I really, because it's what this channel was founded on, I want to get back to my sort of roots and make it so that this channel is exclusively sort of a politics focused channel. And with all of the things that have been going on over the past now nearly 2 months, or has it been 2 months now, in Iran, I started to seek out, and not just Iran, but specifically the MAGA civil war. I sought out to find out, and I had a pretty good idea going into it. What the hell is going on with people who are, I would call, pathologically dedicated to Donald Trump? Because to me, it didn't make any sense. It's like, I supported Donald Trump. I voted for him 3 times because I thought, well, he's certainly better than the competition. And even though for years on Broken Crown, if you follow me over on my regular podcast I do every week with Spoon, I am not a fan of democracy, and I often extol its many flaws. I had to really go through the data and look at what it is that democracy and the act of voting very specifically does to people. And to discuss that in general, to discuss the Iran war stuff in general, but also to go through my new Substack article that details all of the research on this that I've spent the last couple of weeks really digging into. I'm joined tonight by NewsFist. Hello, NewsFist. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Hey, Eden, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. Yeah, there's not enough like political autism, or I don't know, is there too much like political autism? Can
There's
we
not
do a
enough
politics? Right?
proper
Like,
political autism. It's a lot of spurging, but people forget that autists also. Sorry, guys, I am streaming myself tonight, so if the audio is weird, let me know. If NewsFist is too loud, if I'm too loud, just let me know in the chat and I'll adjust it. Sorry, continue.
yeah,
Cut
yeah,
you
I
off
was,
there.
we need to bake ourselves a politics, bake
Mhm.
ourselves a democracy, right? Like, look, we need a
Right.
couple of well-ripened voting blocks,
Mm-hmm.
you know, heartily shaken, held in magnetic opposition, smashed together, then mixed thoroughly, mix in some essence to panic, some too much sort of thinking that what you do actually goddamn matters,
Matters. Yeah.
and you get this sort of delicious kind of like layer cake of psychopathy that we now call
Oh, it's maybe
the
yellow
modern
cake.
democratic West. Oh, it's delicious. I particularly enjoy the creamy filling
Well,
that is equal
ooh,
parts
there's a lot of creamy
despair,
filling going on
frustration,
in
and
DC.
misrepresentation.
Indeed, indeed. So you've been on Broken Crown a couple of times before, but I think this is the first time you've been on my main channel. And you and I've known each other for years. We met through Yiz, who is kind of the
Yep.
great connector of people. That's how I met
Yep.
Spoon. That's how I've met so many people over the years is through Yiz. And we met in person at the Witan in 2022. What year was
I
it?
think no,
23?
it must have been later than that because I think it was the
24.
first year I went
I
to
didn't go last.
OGC, so it would have been
Yes,
24.
it was
Yeah,
24
24.
because I didn't go last year because I was a bit broke at the time. Like my channel wasn't doing well last year, and it's still not doing great. So I started a new one. But I will be a speaker this year. I did say this on Broken Crown last night, but just again, because we this is how we met in person at the Witan in 2024. I wanted to also shill it for a little bit before we get started. The Witan 2026 Foundations First, Millennial Woes, Apostolic Majesty, Harry Robinson, Aiden Paladin, Emil Kierkegaard, Blambas Britannica, who was on Broken Crown with us last night, who I'd never spoken to on stream before, and Luke Gilfuther, who's one of the German guys, I believe. Um,
That
now,
sounds like a cracking good time.
it
Right?
always is.
I mean, one of the things I really like about the Witan is the after parties,
Well,
right? You know,
yes,
everyone picks a political ideology and just goes at it, right? There's like claymores
indeed.
involved. People like bring some switchblades. Oh,
Yeah,
it gets like messy,
yeah,
and then afterwards, everyone like stitches up and has a
yeah.
good old fashioned English like orgy and have too, right? I mean, at least
But don't
that's
say
that's
that.
that was my
There's
experience
too
last
much of
time.
that stuff around. Is Millennial Woes still around? Indeed. I was on Millennial this year. He absolutely is still around, and a good
Yep.
follow on Substack. If you are one of the things that I'm doing here tonight is we're going to be reading my new Substack article that I just put out this afternoon. This is, in some sense, I guess, an advertisement for the Substack, but also just in general, if you support me on Patreon or Subscribestar, you already get access to the articles, and then the article will turn into a video in a couple of weeks in the time it takes me to edit it. So, this is kind of a preview of that video, but also, again, I wanted to speak to you in particular because you have a background in international relations, and that is, of
Yep.
course, an enormous part of all of this. It's not my strong area of politics. Which, I mean, everybody's kind of flying by the seat of their pants and bullshitting. But international relations is one of those topics in politics where having, like, oh my god, the quarter the other day couldn't find the Strait of Hormuz on a map and was circling around Indonesia and Australia and be like, somewhere here, right? Like, that kind of stuff is a bit ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is one of the problems with democracy, isn't it? Really, is that like
Yes,
everyone gets dragged
we'll get into.
into the consideration of these questions that honestly they just have zero input in. I remember you did a video, you did something on this where you pointed this out, and I thought it was really profound. I never quite thought of it that way before. Just how every 4 years it's like, oh, it's the most important
Yep.
it's the most important election
Ever.
ever.
Yeah.
If you don't vote the way that you should, they're gonna like trans your children. And
That's
of
what they're
course
saying already with this midterm stuff is that, like, yeah, I know Trump is a massive disappointment and he's betrayed all of his followers and all of his promises, but the
he hasn't
Democrats will win the midterms if you don't vote Republican. No,
he
thank
hasn't
you.
betrayed all of his followers, Aiden.
Oh,
Just the
there's.
Gentiles. He's
That's true.
just betrayed the
That's true.
Gentiles, right? Like, look, okay, he's he's kosher as it comes, right?
Sure
He
is.
has got one. Well, I guess depending on who you believe, he's got two main sort of funding blocks, right? He
Well,
has the
APAC's.
lobby,
How much has
right?
APAC given him? How many? It's over $100 million.
It's no, look, it's not just APAC.
Not just the money. No, no,
It's
and not
it's
just
no,
the
no, no,
money.
no, no, no. It's not just APAC. Miriam Adelson
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
gave him like $250 million. I mean, he literally
Yeah.
admitted it on
Yep.
stage. He's like, Miriam, she said she'd give me $250
Yep. I
million
remember that.
dollars, mate.
Yep.
Just to come out and just be like, oh yeah, right, like yeah, they totally like
Yeah,
bought
they just
me.
bought me. I mean,
And
he admits it. Yeah.
apparently, Peter Thiel,
Indeed, user's been
you
banned.
know, he's got his fist in the
Yep.
um in the
Well, it's the Peter
the
Thiel network of influencers. Just you get your BAPs and your Bronze Age perverts.
well, there's
Tons of those
the
people.
Musk, apparently, Palmer Luckey,
Yeah.
the head of Anduril,
Yes, yes.
Wexner. Apparently, there's a big nexus
Why am I supposed
operating out
to
of Ohio.
be afraid
No,
of Palantir and not of fucking Anduril? Like, dude, why do they give them all such nefarious names? These organizations, but
because they kind of I think they
they get away with it.
wanna no, they want to sound sort of like cool and
Yeah.
kind of
Barpy.
like remember the way they used to like name companies in the States in like the 80s, right? Like Combined Integrative Systems
Ugh, you're right, right, yeah.
Incorporated, right? Everyone's like,
Nonsense.
ah, like
Hell
fuck
is
that,
that?
because no, we want to be Anduril, Palantir,
Yeah.
Sarum Sandwich,
Yes.
you know.
You're right. I mean, it's so comically evil, and so much of this stuff is comically evil. Before we get into the comically evil stuff, let me tell you something that is overwhelmingly good. I'll just get through this real quick. My little shill, my little shill, my little shill, my little shill for the Witan. What I want to be clear about is that if you look at these prices and you know what the value of the pound is, I know that you look at things like this and see early bird ticket £320. That's like what, $450, something like that, USD. Understand
um
this
I'm sorry, how much is it in pounds, did you say?
320.
320.
However,
Is that
understand this is
yeah.
this is 2 nights of your board being covered. It's also meals comped or included in this, not comped. They're included in it, and it's your ticket to the event. So you're not just paying $450 for the event ticket. They do not want people to stay off site. Part of that is because you'll see, for example, it there's very little information about where this is other than Bedfordshire, which is north of London. It's like Luton is in Bedfordshire. Uh, there's very little information, and that's on purpose. It's because if we give out information about where exactly this is going to be held, weirdos will show up. It's the same reason also why they want everyone on site to be staying at the location in this all inclusive, encompassing package, is so that it disincentivizes fucking weirdos and freaks who want to be disruptive. That's one of the reasons why it's so expensive. It does, however, you get meals, you get your room. So, like, you'd normally be paying probably, I don't know, 50 to 70 pound minimum for a hotel room per night. That's included. So, that is why it's expensive. It is a big ask, but it is a great time. I gotta pay you back at some point for all the cigarettes I bummed off you in 2024, man.
It's fine, right? Think of them as a donation to the cause of social science and sheer bloody minded autism. No, like I had great fun hanging out with you, which is
if
I'm
I'm in
glad
person,
you were there because you two are
yeah.
literally the only two people I knew. So
Yeah.
I just hung around you two like a lost puppy, just
Well,
being like,
we were one
you
of the
know.
only people I knew well there. I knew a lot of people kind of tertiarily, but you were one of the only people I knew well and had been on stream with often. So it was mutual. It was completely mutual. But when I'm at events, and it's not just me, by the way. I've told people this before, but for whatever reason, at these kind of like public events, everybody smokes like a chimney, and it's because when you're outside smoking, you're just kind of standing there doing nothing, so you can talk to other people in a interpersonal way that you kind of can't do when you're listening to a speech or something to that effect. It's all every time I've been to a political conference, it's always been that way. I was telling people the other day that when we were at Mines IRL, Dankula was outside just smoking up. Sargon's out there, everybody's out
I
there.
gotta say, I found the Brits a lot more. How can I put this? Like
I
not
gotta get a
exactly
pipe.
like reserved, but just like they seem to have like I suspect this has changed over the last couple of years, but compared to the Americans, the Brits had a much less sort of awareness of like how bad crap was. I don't know whether it's the sort of like
Hmm.
the prepper apocalyptic streak in the Americans, but the Americans are like, oh yeah, it's all going down. It's going
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, well,
Whereas
Americans have a tendency, as we're actually going to look at here in the data, I think have a tendency to catastrophize a little bit more. However, some of the data, and I'm going to switch over to this, specifically regarding the look, democracy as a system of government is fucked no matter where you go. As I'm going to display here, it's fucked
actually, Aiden, I got to push back on that.
everywhere.
We took a poll, and
Yeah.
70% of the respondents said that democracy is actually great. So
Well, there you have it then.
you have no basis to have that opinion. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, there you have it then. If the people say so. One of the most surprising statistics that I pulled out of this book, and I'm going to very heavily shill it here in talking about it. Now, if you don't want to read the book, although it is a very good book, it's Lens 2012 or 2014. There's a more revised version, which is the most recent one I read, which is, I think, a 2014 publication called Follow the Leader. I talked about it on stream last night by Gabriel Lenz. It's just page after page for 350 pages of just statistics, just data, no fluff, just raw autism about what voting does. And I'll be talking about it here, but like one of the things that shocked me is a 11% of Brits by 1997 did not know that the Labour Party was to the political left of the Conservatives.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's because they did switch places on things like EU integration. So,
look,
and that was a specific topic in question.
One of my sort of bugbears, right? One of my beefs about democracy is the way that it convinces the everyman, the man on the Clapham omnibus,
Yeah.
right? The well, you wouldn't call him Harry Sixpack. I don't know what the British equivalent is. Okay, right?
Baz.
That politics is an activity and a system of knowledge accessible to everyone, where it's not, right? Politics is an
It is
art.
not, indeed.
It is a science, right? It is now again. I know this this probably sounds very elitist. Like, who the hell are you to say that I don't know politics? I
Well,
read
you
the Daily
don't.
Mail. I don't know why I'm doing an American accent, but
It doesn't
you
matter.
get what I'm
It's
saying, right?
applicable to both. Baz and Billy Bob equally don't, and I don't mean that also to be disparaging towards either working class people. It's not a disparagement of them to say that it's not their job to know. So of course they don't.
Precisely.
This is a full-time job to know this stuff. So of
There is
course.
no other sort of domain that is like this. Okay,
No.
right?
Nothing.
I would not go to a fitter and joiner and
Mm-hmm.
say like, I read the paper in the morning, right? I know how to do a dovetail cut because I don't, right? Like
Right.
I do not know how to put a chair together from first principles, right?
Sure.
And no one would really sort of think that, right? Or like,
Nor
someone
would
asks you
anyone
to set up
fault
like,
you for not
yeah,
knowing that.
someone asks you to set up a Unix file server and you're
Right.
like, I don't know how to do that. But for some, well, because democracy, everybody thinks
Requires
that
universal participation.
they can do a politics
Yeah.
and you can't. And nor should you be asked to. As you have
Exactly.
pointed out, this is a highly deranging um state of affairs
It
where
drives people
everyone is
mad.
driven slowly insane. Yeah.
And I've been reviewing research on this for years because again I'm a monarchist. If I think many people here know this, but I don't. I fundamentally reject that democracy is a good system of government. I don't even I accept that it is the best one we found thus far. Who was that? Churchill?
Oh yeah, it's true.
Bad
I
example, by the way. Churchill.
I first heard
Well,
that phrase when I was shit. I must have been like 11 or something like that.
I
I was
think that
kind of
is
bad.
Churchill, is it not?
Yeah.
Well, he fucking
I'm like,
destroyed the empire and is
I'm like,
largely responsible for all the conditions in Britain today. Excuse you,
I'm like,
Bill.
Daddy,
Bless you.
why do we have a like what's so great about democracy? And he just came out with that quote because he never thought about it,
Yeah.
really, right? Like, he was just, like it's
Worst
just
system except for all the other ones we've found we've come across. No,
it's just a thing people say.
it
They've got
is.
no way. Like when was the
But that's
last
all of
time they
this.
tried a different system of government? Well, they haven't, right?
But
So
that's all of this stuff, though, man. It is all just stuff people say so blindly, and it's why I'm so excited to share the research here because you're gonna see as I go through this presentation by reading this article. And I'll have to ask you to help me out a little bit because I will inevitably lose my voice and I'll also get annoying to listen to me just talk for forever. That
it's fine. I can talk shit. That's what I do for a living now. But yeah,
I
please.
mean, me too. Um, voters are so low information, and I know everyone always says, "Oh, voters are low information." No, all of them are all the time. Then, and the people who are high information voters are such an incredible minority. They make no dent. You want to talk about wasting your vote, throwing your vote away, whatever. The people who actually understand politics, who contribute to the democratic process and system, make up 1% of it. The other
Oh my God,
99% of people.
is it really that low?
No,
It can't be that.
no. I'm sorry. I should not say statistics that I'm not clear
Oh,
about.
see, when you say a statistic,
Yeah.
I take you literally.
I
Because
know.
you're such a.
Because I'm usually a stat. It's, however, it's damn close to it. And the thing that it does is that I made a video about this a couple years ago too, but democracy makes people miserable. There's something called cognitive dissonance. It's going to be a key theme of this discussion, is cognitive dissonance. There's a lot of ways to describe cognitive dissonance, but what it produces, first of all, what it is, cognitive dissonance is a misalignment between your beliefs and your actions. And what it induces is psychological pain. There's been some studies that have found that this pain is felt in the exact same part of the brain, and this is some, fMRI kind of research. I didn't include it in this because it's real sketch. But it appears that the psychological pain induced by cognitive dissonance is activated in the same areas of the brain as physiological pain.
That's clearly untrue. It's clearly felt in the balls.
I mean, it's stored in the balls and it's and it's felt in the brain in the same area.
It is true, right? Like, I mean,
I
I
mean,
don't know
imagine.
whether I don't know
Well, let's
whether it's
remove it from from the political context. Cognitive
right.
dissonance is when you've supported something in the past, or you've liked something in the past. Now it sucks. You know what I mean? Like, let's talk about,
Mhm.
how about liking Star Wars, for example. Oh, I love Star
Oh,
Wars.
oh,
Well, look at
oh,
what
oh,
Star Wars is now. It sucks.
or like when I saw footage of Clavicular at that club in Miami,
Ooh.
right, recently, and I was like, "Oh my god, that literally looks like hell."
Yeah,
Whereas when I was 20 years old, I would have been like, "Oh man, that looks like such a great
it was like such a
time.
good time,
I
right?
I bet I'll meet like a lot of interesting people." And now I just like look at all these people, I'm like, "Oh
Right?
wow, vapid whores and cocaine. Wow. Oh
Yeah,
wow."
great. Oh, I love it. I mean, I was never that kind of person, but yeah, when you're young, like, yeah, going to a party is great, and it's not just time. It's also because time is a key component of it that often gets lost in the dissonance research, or left out of it, is that it is a product of time often, not always, but often. Um,
Mhm.
Things that I supported in the past are now coming back to bite me in the ass, and that means I have to figure out, well, do I still support it or do I not? And there's only three ways to answer the call of dissonance. You can adjust your new beliefs. No one does this. That is almost never done because it means you have to experience more dissonance in the process. You have to uh,
I
accept the
don't look,
fact that you
look,
were wrong.
I don't know that no one does
No, it's
this.
not no one. It's the
I think that's a
rarest
bit of
response.
a I think that's a bit of a stretch. I think over
Uh,
time everyone
Not in the
does it, but
literature.
I think it's
Well,
got to be self-motivated. I think there is always I think if
yeah,
people try and push other people to do it, creates like a reactance
yes,
response.
reactants. What
Yeah.
happens is that people start to do it very slowly, and they do it in a way where they can, you know how like you'll get a scab over a cut. It isolates itself within the brain and gets scabbed over. So it, like, the original dissonant thoughts are kind of hidden away. And if you start to pick at it too much, they bleed again, right? So people create and we'll go over it. I should stop waffling and get into the actual article. Um,
Yes,
they
yes, Aiden, stop waffling. The audience wants some social science. By the way, you're gonna like share this on screen, or I have to
it's
watch
on
the YouTube feed in order
no,
to
it's
like
on
see what
screen.
you're like.
It is on. Oh yes, I did send it to you, and you should have received a year
Wait,
subscription to my Substack, so you should be able to read
okay.
along with us.
So then why can I not see
Really? Did it not work?
the
This
screen?
this is
Is it just
oh
me? Am I
no,
just
because I'm
tired?
not sharing it through Discord. I'm sharing it through OBS. So
Right.
however, you should have gotten a subscription to my Substack for a year. So and
Thank you.
and by the way, please check out the Substack, guys. Like I said, if you want early access to anything that I do, it will be here. The Good Co is the goat. And Airmake Discourse for 10 says, good book I'd recommend if you're I'd recommend to read if you're more academic is The Demon in Democracy by Rizard Legutko. It is a fantastic book. I also highly recommend, former Soviet political prisoner and Polish nationalist. That book,
Fabulous.
abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah,
I
fabulous.
100% second read that book. Check it out. The
Yeah.
the stuff here is a little bit, that book's heavy. Stuff here is a little bit easier to digest, I think. So let's get into it then. The pathological democracy in dissonance: how the psychological pain of participation reshapes reality. Actually, would you like to start? We'll just go through it. I asked Spoon for a bunch of help on like the thumbnail here, and I think it turned out okay. Uh,
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. So wait, you mean to read the
yeah,
actual
sure. Will
thing?
you?
I mean, I've only got the first half of it because
Wait,
Substack
wait,
won't let me
wait.
have it. But yes, I can do it. Wait, hang on, just
Okay,
let
well,
me
that's better than for you
Substacky.
to start to, so I can save my voice for the part I'm gonna. It should allow you to have the article. I did send it to. I gave you a year
Many
subscription.
no, you did
Okay.
right, but it's I don't know, mate. Like Substack clearly hates me. Okay, wait,
Oh well.
let's see.
Uh,
Right.
we'll go ahead and start with this. I'll pick up more of it as we go on. Right.
Okay, pathological democracy in dissonance. Dum dum
Yes.
dum. Psychological pain of participation reshapes reality. truer words were never spoken. Honestly,
Mm.
I feel like, you know what I've been feeling like recently, a lot of the time.
Thank you, Arden, by the way.
They know what it is that we want, right? It's
Yes,
obvious, and you know why they know what
we've
it is that
screamed it
we
at
want.
them.
No, 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 because they're doing it to us already,
Yes.
right? It's like you're torturing a small child, but the child is under the belief that the stuff that you're doing to them is just like accidental or
Oh,
something like
like
that. You know exactly
I
what the
don't have any
child wants.
choice. I don't have any choice. They're just doing, they can't help it.
Yep,
And it's like,
yep.
well, yeah, they can actually, and all of this is a farce and it's fake and gay. But let's if you would, why don't we trade paragraphs then? You do one, I'll do one.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
War, war never changes.
I had to
But
start with
Trump's
that.
war with Iran has caused a dramatic split in the coalition of Republicans, Libertarians, disaffected Democrats, and Israel firsters. Oh, sorry, and independents who
Yeah.
once voted for him
Probably
based
should
on
be an
a
Oxford
seemingly
comma there, but whatever. Sorry, continue.
yeah, who once voted for him based on a seemingly simple shared goal, placing America and Americans first in all political considerations, both domestic
Oops.
and international. A civil war of sorts has also been declared simultaneously, with lines drawn between Trump and what some have termed, quote, new MAGA. It's new. Including the likes of former Never Trumpers such as Mark Levin and Lindsey Graham versus, quote, old MAGA, including longtime Trump supporters such as Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson. Boo! MAGA adjacents such as Thomas Massey and more fringe elements of the right, such as Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens. Are they really fringe?
No, but
Like,
no, they're huge. Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens have some, but I'm calling them fringe because they are not considered probably part of like establishment MAGA, right? The, that's why I called them fringe.
right.
Although Alex Jones probably should be fringe, but at this point, Alex Jones has been subsumed or was. God, the betrayal of Alex Jones makes me like genuinely upset.
Yeah, I feel
How
bad for him.
Trump has just thrown him away. He was your guy. He was your most loyal guy, and you threw him
Listen,
away.
mate. Look, to paraphrase Academic Agent,
Yeah.
right? Um, they are the top priority, right? Like, his top priority is Israel. If anyone gainsains
Yes.
Israel, that's like, and
Yeah.
this is becoming sort of increasingly apparent, right?
Oh,
As
it's
the rubber hits the
undeniable
road,
now. Yeah.
and yeah, it is totally undeniable, and they're doing themselves incredible damage. But yeah, sorry, I don't
Yes.
mean to digress. Do you
Oh
want to
no,
do the
no.
next
The whole
paragraph?
point of this is to digress.
I
Those
mean,
are. Sorry,
they look,
continue.
the the is Israel and the Zionist lobby, generally speaking, right, are
Mhm.
trashing their reputation in America
They
at
don't
a
care.
pace like just never hitherto seen. Correct. It seems like they don't care, which of course then raises the question, well, why don't they care? Is it
Yeah.
some religious thing, right? Are there sections
Oh,
of them that
oh,
believe the
yes.
Messiah is going to return before the
Well,
the backlash comes?
they
Is it
have to
the
go to war
ingathering?
with Gog and Magog and the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
ancient
yeah, yeah,
war. They've
yeah.
got all this. They have all this religious shit. I actually even brought it up last night. Netanyahu, in a recent speech, said, "United States is big brother, Israel is little brother." Well, that has biblical meaning in of itself in terms of Jacob and Esau, right?
That's literally exactly what fucking Osama bin Laden said, right? I saw
Yes.
that and I'm like, that is very poor phraseology because that is literally exactly what Osama bin Laden said. Like, bro, pick your words more carefully. I mean,
Well,
the
no,
big Satan and the
for
little Satan,
if you
you know?
believe in that, if you believe in this weird, I mean, I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic, which apparently makes me kind of immune to this stuff because the Pope has condemned all of it. I don't think it makes all Catholics immune, obviously not, but there seems to be a sort of bolstering factor of being a Catholic and not being, in particular, an evangelical American Christian who reads your oh, what's the name of that specific Schofield Bible,
Yes.
with all of your little notations about how this is actually all about how Israel's our greatest friend kind of stuff from 1912, I believe. Uh, that stuff has infected America in many ways. That
Oh,
language, though, it is. You're
yeah.
right. That is that. If it were from anyone else, but Bibi Netanyahu, it would be like this is insanity
Well,
to say it this
this
way.
is what you call like, positional anti-Semitism, for example. Okay, right. So if
Well, they would call it that, yes.
if you or I were to come out and say that the Moorish people were behind all of the socially progressive movements in the West that we
It's totally
right,
not
such
true
as
whatsoever.
civil rights, gays, trans, all this kind of other stuff, right? That would be
Gay
highly
capital of
offensive,
the
right?
world is Tel Aviv.
But when the World Jewish Council comes out and says literally exactly the same thing, that is stunning and brave and
Of course
awesome.
it
And
is.
my theory actually on this is that um, all of this crap fundamentally started with them. Like all of the same things about the blacks and the trans and the gays and all this kind of like, we must reform society in order to take care of these people. It
Yes.
started originally with them. All of
Yep.
the same tricks, all of the same like stuff.
Yep.
Really, like it goes way back.
Yep. Indeed. It did. Those opposed to Trump's war see it as a fundamental betrayal of his guarantees of, well, no new wars, a promise for which he recently and repeatedly demanded a Nobel Peace Prize. Meanwhile, key domestic promises that bound this broad coalition, reducing H-1B immigration, mass deportations of immigrants, draining the swamp, Epstein transparency, and lowering the cost of living and home ownership, have all been abandoned or broken. And right now, I struggled to refine this clip, but Trump said about 2 months ago, "You gotta get over this stuff. You gotta get over it. You gotta get over it. You gotta get
Yeah,
over
also,
the fact that I'm gonna fucking,
no,
I'm
well,
sorry, rape you and give everything to the boomers, because that's the
no,
only base besides a certain country that he cares about is the boomers."
Aiden, he's raping you for Israel though,
I know
right?
he
And
is.
really, if you think about it, right, isn't that like sort of the greatest gift a Gentile can be bestowed? If you think about it.
It sure is. I sure love Israel's gift. They do, gift giving. You know what that is? Are you aware of that?
I don't actually.
So, in the gay community,
Oh, you mean? Oh, yes,
in the
right.
gay
Yes,
community, getting AIDS and intentionally seeking out AIDS is called gift giving. You're giving the gift of AIDS because I don't know, is for some reason a bunch of weird broken homosexuals have strange fucking fetishes about getting a terminal disease for being gay. Anyway, cost of living and home ownership have all been abandoned or broken, seemingly in favor of a foreign war no one asked for and that very few appear pleased with in the polls, with only 32% of Americans in support as of April 2026. You can see it here in the data. You can cope about this all you like. This is the truth. Only 32% of all Americans support it, 55% oppose. People will be like, oh, only half of Americans, these are all Democrats, 55% Democrat. No, only 32% support this. This is a recent poll. I'll pull this up here. Also, all of the links in this work, you will be able to read all of these articles. It's a YouGov poll from April 10th through the 13th, so just this week.
I don't trust YouGov polls.
I don't either. I also
Right.
think that
So when
it's
I
lower
look at
than
these
that.
when I look at these polling numbers, right, my first reaction is it's
Bug
probably
chasers,
worse.
yeah.
Right? It's
It
probably
probably
worse.
is. You know what
Right? And
Trump keeps.
they're just
What?
they're trying to polish that turd furiously.
Well, I'll show you the turd polishing actually if you look here for a second. You can see
Right.
the turd polishing in that support for the Iran war. Look here at who voted for whom. MAGA, 80% support. Now, but what is MAGA? And this is the question here that we've been sort of tackling for the last couple of weeks is what is MAGA? Everyone has left MAGA who is not insane. People who are left in MAGA are Zionists. This is an increasingly small portion of the population. By the way, it's about, from my estimates, okay, so you can see here it's 417 responses, the unweighted N. They had to poll a lot of MAGAs to get even this number. MAGA is at this point about 13% of the population by my estimates.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, and also it's a tautology, right? So
right, yeah,
I don't know whether
right?
it was this poll, right? But there was
This
a
is
poll,
the most recent one, yeah.
There was a poll going around, right? And Fox News was parroting it, and they're like, 100% of MAGA
that wasn't
support
Fox.
President Trump. Which is a bit like saying 100%
I don't think that was
of people
Fox.
who support President Trump support President Trump.
Exactly.
Right?
By the way, I don't think that was Fox News. I'm pretty sure that was CNN. And you got to start asking yourself questions. If CNN is like, whoa, look, all of MAGA supports Trump and he's doing great in the polls. If CNN is telling you that, what the fuck do you think's going on?
Well, they got bought out by Larry Ellison, didn't
They
they?
did get bought out by Larry Ellison, did they not? But do
Yeah.
you not
So
also have to ask the question, if CNN is exuberant at this fact, should that not raise some questions in your head? Why is CNN exuberant? This is the death spiral of MAGA.
yeah, it's already. I mean, MAGA's
Yeah.
already dead, right? I mean,
Yes,
like
it's
the
dead.
way. I mean, this is the weird thing. Okay, so one of the things that I sort of, I didn't plan to become a weird sort of adversarial expert on James
Nor did
Lindsay, but
I.
I
Oh
did,
yeah,
right?
well you have.
That's
Yeah, sorry, there's no about that, but
that's
yes,
just how shit worked out, right?
yeah.
That's how me and Artie met through our
Hmm.
mutual dislike of James Lindsay, right? You know, bringing people together. It's
Well,
a
look,
beautiful
I
thing.
also can't stand the fucker, so we're all in
Yeah,
alignment
but
there.
I just I don't know, mate. I just
I
have
find
this
his
weird.
disingenuity to be repulsive.
So,
Uh,
but he started, right? Well, I mean, allegedly, it was probably birthed by like the Manhattan Institute and like
yeah.
Susie Edelson and all those like
Yes.
people, and then passed down to Lindsay. I don't know, right?
He
But
takes marching orders. It's very clear.
he started that whole MAGA civil war by just
He started it.
calling it the woke right and
The
stuff. Yeah, he
woke
started and
right.
then turned around and was like, why are you attacking me, bros? Well, you started, and now the
Yep.
fruit, of course, is,
Here
excuse me,
is the fruit of
heavy on the
James
vine.
Lindsay's work. Yes, heavy on the vine indeed it is. James Lindsay and several other people have been setting this shit up for the past 2 years of, oh, they're woke, right? All they want to talk about is Israel. I don't know, if Israel wasn't involved in this war in Iran and responsible for it, I wouldn't talk about Israel now, would I? Anywho.
Yes, but you gotta understand there has to be a fall guy by definition,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Much like BLM, Israel has never done anything wrong, right?
No,
It's just
never.
it's in the definition. Okay,
They
so
didn't steal nuclear
therefore,
weapons from us or anything.
no, but that since that point is fixed, everything else must rotate around it.
Hmm.
Okay, right? Like so therefore, it cannot be Israel's actions that are causing people
Yep.
to be pissed off with it.
Yep.
It must be a Qatari influence campaign or secret crypto fascists in the
Where's
Republican
my
Party or
Qatari fucking money, by the way? I'm waiting for my check. It's still not arrived.
look, Aiden, hit me up. I'll put you in touch with
All right,
like
you
Sheikh
you
Mohammed.
you get me in, in touch with the Qataris so they can finally fucking
Listen,
pay me.
if you pay your cards right, you can get
Yeah.
money from the Qataris and the Israelis at the same time. Right?
I
It's pretty
that
fucking sweet deal.
that's the real game.
Yeah,
Bro.
triple agent.
Triple
No, the
agent.
Qataris are good. They pay you in goat coin.
Oh,
You might know.
goat
You know,
coin. Would you like to read the next? Well, like I said, we'll
yes, right.
head
Sorry,
off
wait,
on this.
what
Oh no, no.
paragraph?
The whole point is to have fun and talk
Okay,
about it more
right.
than anything.
Okay, so
After the graph,
what?
yet while many feel betrayed, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yet, while many may feel betrayed, many also seem compelled to stand by Donald Trump and court stick with their vote. This isn't a phenomenon limited to this particular political habitat. It appears to be a feature of democracy rather than a bug. After all, one of the reasons so many supported Trump was a shared belief that finding a politician who actually lives up to their promises is like finding a needle in a haystack, and Trump was that golden spindle, except he wasn't, was he? Right?
He seemed to, that's what people thought he was. You know,
I can't believe I
I'm
supported that motherfucker, right? I mean, I'm not
right.
even American.
I mean, I
And I was
did.
like, "Woo, go Trump,
I did. Yeah,
woo!"
I was all on
Like,
board. I was at this channel, and this channel in 2017. The first video I put out on this channel was called "How You Elected Trump" or "Why You Elected Trump" or something to that effect. And it was about, by the way, psychological reactance, which is a closely linked psychological mechanism to cognitive dissonance, and they oftentimes interplay with each other. It was like all the leftoids sort of at the time were like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Well, when you tell someone don't push the button, what do they want to do is push the fucking button, right?
no. But the thing is, the reason why the lefties said not to vote for Trump was nothing to do with what actually happened. right? They were
Exactly.
all like, "Oh my God,
Oh,
Project 2025,
he's
right?
gonna
Like
put gay people
he's
in
gonna do a
camps.
Christian nationalism." He
Yeah.
didn't do any of that shit, right?
No.
None of them said, "Oh, don't vote for Trump because he's gonna go to war." The only
Yeah.
person who freaking said that was Nick Fuentes and
Yeah.
bloody 4chan.
Yes.
And 4chan was right
Right. Once
again.
again.
Oh, I can't believe it, bros.
Can I might take a little short aside here. I know you can't hear this, unfortunately, but I might just play Pole Was Right Again.
Wait, I can turn the volume up.
What if I just play this song for a moment? I don't think I'll get copyright claimed for it because it's a Pole song. Let's have a little music on through. Over the window to my right, as he stays left and I stay right. I gotta remember the lyrics. It's been a long time. I'm to blame, why did I believe the Jewish lies and cuck for all these non-whites? Speak the saddest words of tongue and pen. Well, I know Pole was right again. You got the gist of it. It goes on for another 4 minutes. 3 minutes.
It was actually, the volume on it was actually pretty low.
I couldn't turn up any longer. Well, I could have.
What is that called then? If you know, if just so that I know not to look it up. And
Pole. Just so you haven't. Pole Was Ready, and it's real spicy, by the way. If you thought that was the parts I was just humming along to there were spicy, oh, it gets way more spicy because it's Pole, and it turns out Pole was right again. Indeed, every Stein, Singelberg, Timowitz. It keeps happening.
So the answer, as usual, lies in human behavioral psychology and specifically in cognitive dissonance.
Oh, I know why you couldn't hear it, because I didn't have my. Never mind, no one could hear that. I didn't have the fucking audio turned on. Never mind. Excuse my little aside there.
A state of psychological discomfort that arises when our past actions or belief conflict with our present ones. Either we were wrong then, or we're wrong now, and that tension must be resolved by changing either behaviors or attitudes to alleviate the, quote, psychic pain, to steal a phrase from Scrump, that dissonance creates.
You can see here, this is the basic mechanism of cognitive dissonance. Dissonance between attitude and behaviors. It just means a discordance. Two things, right? That are my attitudes and my behaviors do not align. This creates psychological discomfort. You have two options of alleviating. There's actually a third one here that's left out, which is ignoring. And that is what, in the research, happens about 90% of the time. You can either change your behavior or you can change your attitudes. Most people just choose to ignore it, and they will create these psychological scabs around the cancer. So they don't even have to deal with it. That's how they reduce dissonance. In the vast majority of cases, they don't actually change behavior or change attitudes. They just create a scab over it. So I continue.
Well, I know this scab like thing is, but surely you could just admit you had been played, right?
No,
I was played, right? Like,
I was played.
Okay, yes, it hurts, okay, right? But you know, I bought myself like a bit of numbing cream, right, and a little hemorrhoid pillow, and you know,
but you're asking people, you are asking people to intentionally induce pain upon themselves. What do animals avoid at all costs? Pain. You are asking people, please hurt yourself. For what? For nothing. What do they get by hurting themselves? Nothing. They get nothing out of it except for, I don't know, moral clarity? It's not worth it to them. So instead, what they will just do is say, like, it doesn't exist.
I mean, look at the COVID vaccine.
We're gonna see it in the data. I didn't even look at the COVID stuff here. I looked at way older.
But, I mean, but surely that is like the example par excellence.
It is.
Yeah.
I looked at way older and specifically political, even though COVID was explicitly political. I looked at very old stuff in this because to focus just on voting and what that does. But yes, COVID's an excellent example. Cognitive dissonance in the political context does not just occur when a politician fails to live up to expectations, as we will discuss later. Almost every aspect of the democratic process is potentially dissonance inducing. Most people vote for a candidate whom they not only believe is a good choice for achieving the change they want to see, but also someone who they believe can actually win. Hence the perpetual fear, as we are experiencing now in the UK at least, of splitting or wasting the vote, which is the claim under Rupert Lowe. And I was talking to Blamblast last night, and he's brought up some concerns with Lowe that I was not aware of. I'm a little bit tepid on that now. But
There's no perfect politician,
that's
right?
part
Like
of the problem,
you,
yes.
you can't, you can't
Indeed.
expect like a perfect politician. There's either better or worse politicians.
Yes. When our preferred candidate wins, that victory itself serves as proof of their competence and legitimacy. When our preferred candidate loses, that loss in turn is often taken as proof of incompetence. I'll keep going for a minute. And yet, we voted for them. The vast majority of people who don't want to vote for the stock raving loony party, for example, wouldn't intentionally vote for someone they believe to be incompetent or unfit, right? These dueling actions and beliefs that we chose the best candidate, and yet that candidate loss produces dissonance. So what I'm going to get into here first in the article is what happens when your candidate loses. And this is it probably seems a little bit disconnected at first. It will make sense as to why I have to start with this, because I need to explain to you sort of through examples how political or what Beasley and Jocelyn here I'm about to talk about called choice-based or outcome-based dissonance. I'll just finish this out. To manage this discomfort, we may shift our attitudes, evaluating the loser more negatively and the winner more positively. This is one of the most consistent findings in this area of research. People, when they vote for a winner who wins in an election, will then positively evaluate the loser. And you saw this with Hillary Clinton to a certain extent, but things are a little bit different now, and I will talk about it. It's like, oh, she's just a joke. They didn't like come to love or like Hillary Clinton, but they found her funny then after the fact. Or with Joe Biden is an even better example of just sleepy old Joe, right?
So
Once the win is secured.
If I
Yes,
might just introduce an angle
indeed.
into this, I'm not sure whether you've covered this because I haven't read the whole thing, right? But there are a couple of considerations that are likely to go unmissed by Western political scientists because, well, because they are fags.
True.
Right. But okay. So the first one is abundance. Okay. When everything is basically like working, right?
Mm-hmm.
The choice of political leader, although tribal, is not going to flow through to like massive real world effects for most people, right? You're not going to starve, okay? You're not going to get like gunned
Right.
down
This is
in the
all
street.
kind of directions I would like to see the country going in.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, correct. And the second one is declining legitimacy, which I sent you that rant. I did. Check out my channel.
Yeah.
NewsFist on YouTube. But as legitimacy declines, it becomes much more sort of frustrating. It's not like, I mean, you could argue that one of the advantages of the uni party is that it sort of reduces polarization in this context because
Sort of.
you're really like, are you voting for Jack Johnson or are you voting for John
John
Jackson,
Jackson.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's not that much of a difference, right? But as legitimacy like declines, and it has declined precipitously
We're gonna get so
in the
much into
West,
that in this. Yeah. It gets
yeah,
so much into
like
that. Yeah.
I think it gets worse. Whereas in because of the post-war boom, post-war consensus,
But yes. Yes.
whatever, it hasn't really been existential. It hasn't been existential.
Yes.
Is what I'm
Yep.
getting at.
Yep. And so politicians have to make things feel existential in order to do anything, essentially. It has to be made to feel existential, even if it's not. Caleb Knight for €6 says, as we all know, all of 4chan is Fist's alt account. So another one for the Fist was Right Jar. Best wishes, Christ is King. Line the roads with, I think that's elf skulls. Yep.
Yeah. So
I
I
identify
have
as an
like,
elf, so I'm a little offended by that, but it's all right.
so according to my stream viewers, I now have like my own version of the Lindsay chart.
Hmm.
They have memed into existence.
Based.
Yeah. Yeah. Based.
Very based. Okay, this is where it starts. Sorry, the beginning of the article is the beginning of the article, so it's a bit boring. It's introducing the topic. This is where things start to get interesting. To manage this discomfort, psychological discomfort, we may shift our attitudes, evaluating the loser more negatively and the winner more positively. In elections, this has been described as outcome-based dissonance, where the result determines whether a voter experiences that psychological pain. This dynamic is not hypothetical, it has been observed empirically across contexts. Beasley and Joslin, 2001, analyzed data from the National Election Survey conducted both before and after elections in 1972, 1980, 1984, 1988, 1992, and 1996 to examine whether winning or losing an election alters voters' opinions of candidates. They measured this using changes in attitude distance between candidates operationalized through a feeling thermometer. So a feeling thermometer is basically, it's what it says on the tin, essentially. How positive or negative do you feel towards this person on a 100-point scale? So, for example, if a voter rated Bill Clinton at 75 and Bob Dole at 40 before the 1996 election, but after Clinton's victory adjusted those ratings to 70 and 50 respectively, the evaluative distance between the two candidates would have narrowed. That's what we're looking at here. Did the evaluative distance between, for example, Bob Dole and Bill Clinton narrow? Did it become like, oh, I like Bob Dole more now after I voted for Clinton and he won?
Oh, so Clinton's emotional thermometer went down, whereas Dole's went up.
This is a bad. I use this example intentionally because this is the literally only example of all these years listed where it didn't happen. In every other one of these years, it happened, except for specifically 1996. I thought I was being clever with that. Maybe I wasn't. But do you have access to the article now?
I do not.
What?
I don't know, man. Like, so maybe I've got to like log out and log back in or something. But we're on the stream now. Anyway, look, I'll do the next paragraph.
Okay. Yeah,
Across 5 of the 6 elections assessed, voters reported wider attitude distances between candidates in the post-election period relative to non-voters. So
the very fact that you are able to vote changes this stuff. So when people voted for not Clinton and Dole, but in any other election, it was the case where people felt more positive towards the losing candidate and oftentimes they reduce their positivity towards their winning candidate because it's kind of like, oh, well, he ran a good race.
Well, look, I mean, there's a very, very easy way to explain that.
Just send you how about I just send you a document with us in a...
Politicians, right, promise big, and then once they get into power, they always have to row back on their promises. So this is going to reduce their favorability. Whereas politicians who do not get elected never have to actually implement any of their policies and can continue to say, see, I told you that this was going to happen. So it would sort of, I guess it would follow that their warmth would go up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. By the way, I've also sent you a Google document with the article in it now.
Nice.
There have been a couple of changes that I've made between writing that and publishing it, but they're relatively minor. So now you definitely have it. It should be no problem. It doesn't have the graphs in it is the only difference.
That's fine. Wait, okay, so where are we up to? Okay, right.
5 and 6
the sole exception was the aforementioned 1996 election between Clinton and Dole, where no significant change in favorability distance was observed. This may be attributable to the relatively moderate positions of both candidates held within their respective parties. Additionally, the 1996 election was unusual in that the independent candidate Ross Perot captured a substantial share of the popular vote, around 8%. Overall, the race was comparatively non-hostile, moderate, and widely perceived as low stakes relative to both early and later elections. Whoever won, a moderate would occupy the White House, which might explain why 1996 stands as the lone case where post-election attitude distance did not increase. So you're right. So you're basically sort of restating.
Yeah, I was. That's why I was waiting for you to, because I was about to say the same thing.
See, great minds think alike.
I guess
fools
so.
Never differ. I leave the viewer to make the
Indeed. Well, yeah. Which one is it? Maybe. If you get the next paragraph, I'll get the one after.
Okay. With that exception aside, and counterintuitively, it was actually voters for the losing candidate whose attitudes towards the winner improved the most. I mean, this could be explained by like policy and also by like the sky not falling and
It's
like a bunch of other stuff,
cope.
right?
It's cope, and it's dissonance, and it is psychological reactance. Like, look at this. Shit, I can't show you. I'll just start fucking posting graphs at you so you can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
I'm still on the
Look
Substack, so
at the
I can see the
insanity
graphs at the
of
moment.
this graph.
Yeah.
For the winner, you have some minor attitude adjustment. Look at the attitude adjustment for the loser. In terms of, this is mean attitude change. The winning candidate goes way, way up. The losing
again,
candidate goes way, way down.
But
I
again,
was right. It's proof that you were right. People take voting as proof of their correctness.
but there's also that political trick where as soon as you get into office, you blame all the bad shit on the person who was in office
Exactly.
before you, right?
Exactly.
And if your opponent was of that same political party, then that is going to reduce sentiment as well, right? You'll come in and like fucking Labour's like still blaming
I know.
the goddamn Tories
Yes,
for
that is the trick of democracy, is to always, it's always the other guy's fault, and it allows them to do this in perpetuity, where this happens every single election cycle. The bad guy lost, the good guy won. It doesn't matter who won or who lost in terms of their political position. The good guy won, and his proof of being a good guy is because he won.
To be fair, Aiden, this is not just a feature of democracy, right? Like
No,
any
it's
ruler, when they get
yes.
into power, can blame stuff on the previous rule. I
But
mean,
no,
look at
this, I'm not talking about the
Stalin
leader
and-
doing it. This is how the participants view it.
Oh, the
participants
participants who think for
democracy.
themselves, you mean, who,
Yes.
are capable of independent thought, and particularly in
Well,
1996
allegedly,
we're not.
right? Allegedly, they're supposed to be capable of
Okay.
independent thought. And look what they do. If your guy wins, the loser looks better. If your guy loses, all of a sudden the support drops off a fucking cliff. This is why I am so adamant against democracy as a system of governance, because this is all fake and bullshit. It's in people's heads. You know what I mean? Look at the absolute attractiveness scores.
Because nobody likes a loser. He's a loser. Not a winner like me. I'm going to Glass, Iran, pave it over. We're going to have a great parking lot, maybe some golf courses.
This is a very important chart here as well. You can see that the absolute attractiveness, how good the person is, with the exception of 1992, actually 1996 came up here, but look, the attractiveness of the winner among voters, more attractive in 1972, 1980, more attractive, way more attractive, way more attractive 1984, 1988, more attractive 1992, not statistically significant. 1996, more attractive, the winner. Look at non-voters, however. People who do not participate in this process, nothing. An easy way to tell, you can see it down at the bottom, p is less than 0.05, and two asterisks says p is less than 0.10 or better in the two-tailed test or one-tailed test. This means nothing on the bottom for non-voters is statistically significant. No statistically significant change in attitude towards the absolute attractiveness of the candidate. And it is democracy itself, and that meaning participating in the democratic process, voting, that causes this belief that the person is more attractive because they won. Right?
I mean, I guess. I mean,
Well,
I'm just saying to offer a contrary view.
Mm-hmm.
Again, right? Like, in a democracy, you've got to do like a bunch of like lying to get into office. And so, you run a political campaign. So therefore the distance between what you promised and what you delivered. I mean, how long after the election are these samples being taken in terms of like
let's find out.
attractiveness impact?
Let's find out. Now, here's a cool thing if you subscribe to my podcast, or podcast, fucking
Substack. Podstack.
My Podstack here. Version 1, okay, so let's see. How long after the Interviews at the pre-election period began in September, continued to election day. The post-election survey commenced immediately after the election. So this is immediate responses, right? And
So
it was a good
immediately
question.
after the announcement.
Immediately after the election, it says post-election survey commenced immediately after the election, and except for a small portion of respondents interviewed in December and January, is completed by late November, so in the same month.
Interesting.
Yeah. But that's a good question, and someone last night said, like, Aiden's so autistic about this, she knows she can pull up this shit and immediately fucking answer your questions. It is my goal to be able to immediately answer this kind of questions.
Okay, let's move on. Do you want to do the next bit?
Yes. Living erasing the vote. Yes. Okay. Got that one. All right. Now we're moving down here. The political climate in the 1970s through 1990s was, of course, very different from today's social media saturated post-Trump environment. Still, the underlying logic is consistent. If my preferred candidate loses, it becomes psychologically convenient to conclude that he simply wasn't very good and that I never really liked him all that much anyway. I think you did kind of see a little bit of this. Now, I'm going to explain in a minute why none of this actually affects or applies to Trump. But historically, this has been what happened. It's like, oh, that guy sucked, whatever. Trump is a strange aberrant from the normal, and not just him, but there's a couple of other people, aberration from the norm on this. And it's because Trump is a cult of personality, which is what all this is about. It's cult of personality stuff. But typically, if your candidate loses, you just go, well, he sucked. Maybe he wasn't that good.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like this could also be explained in terms of polarization, right?
We're going to get to
I
that,
imagine,
yeah.
I imagine when it was Clinton versus Dole or whoever,
Dole,
right?
yeah.
No one was going out in the street, right? Like trying to beat the crap out of people who were wearing like Bob Dole hats. You
Yeah.
know, right?
Yes,
Like,
yeah,
you know,
and it is a function of the time, and is a function, but Trump created, by the way he ran his campaign, that kind of cult of personality stuff, where, because he's a superstar. That didn't really exist, even with Reagan. We'll get into Reagan here in a little bit. Even Reagan, nothing like this existed with Reagan, and he was a movie star before he was president, to be clear. Right? But if my candidate wins, then his victory becomes validation, proof that he was the better choice and that I was right to support him because the public has collectively affirmed that judgment. Because I backed the winner, I don't have to grapple with the psychological cost of defeat. I am free instead to soften my view of the loser and perhaps even concede that he ran a good race, as I said earlier, or to notice qualities I can now afford to appreciate from the victor's podium precisely because the competition is ended and the outcome decided. Vox populi, vox dei. Obviously.
Which does not work in a highly polarized environment.
It does not. I think maybe we'll just do this in chunks because there's big graphs in between all this stuff. So let's do it in chunks.
Sorry, go
on. No, I think that's probably a better way to do it. Obviously, things have changed in American politics since 2016, to put it mildly. While an exact replication of Beasley and Joslin's methodology has not been conducted, a 2023 analysis of effective polarization from I can't stand fucking Dutchoids. Raylan and colleagues, drawing on data, because I can't pronounce their names, Raylan and colleagues, drawing from data from 102 elections across, this is where it starts to get, I think all of it's fascinating, but this is where it starts to get very interesting to me. Drawing from data from over 102 elections across 40 countries between 1996 and 2019 offers a useful point of comparison. Their findings suggest that there are only a handful of countries where leader-based effective polarization exceeds party-based polarization. The United States is one of just 3 countries out of 40 in which this is the case. I will explain what that means. Effective polarization refers to the extent to which voters hold positive sentiments towards their own party while harboring negative sentiments towards the opposing parties. In most countries, this dynamic is primarily party-driven rather than leader-driven. The United States is a notable exception. While it is not alone in exhibiting relatively high levels of leader-focused polarization, countries such as Serbia, Mexico, Portugal, Slovakia, Italy, the Czech Republic, Romania, Uruguay, South Africa, Hungary, Bulgaria, Montenegro, and Turkey, by the way, Turkey's very intense on that. I'll show in the graph here in a second. It is one of only 3 countries alongside Mexico and Peru where leader effective polarization exceeds party effective polarization. In the remaining 37 countries studied, the reverse was true. That means, just to reiterate, that people in the United States vote based on person. They do not vote based on party. And that is why you're going to get some of the insane results we're going to see later in this essay as to why it is Americans don't seem to care about anything other than the leader. This gets very much into Lenz's research as well. See, actually, look at the polarization in Turkey. Turkey is the worst out of all of them for leader effective polarization scores. The United States actually is way down here underneath Serbia. However, when we look at it this way, leader/party effective polarization ratio, United States absolutely tops the charts.
I mean, I would think with Turkey that's because of Erdogan and Ataturk would be my guess.
It's gonna be Ataturk because this is
and let's look at these other countries.
96 to 2019. So it might be, it actually would be Erdogan as well.
You know, you also have
Montenegro, anything that's so see this one. Anything that's under that is not leader based; it's party based.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Okay, cool.
I get that. So United States is the most leader polarized. Yes. Mexico, Peru. I mean, Mexico. You've got
France, very close to the line.
When is this data from?
This is 1996 through 2019.
This is old data.
Well, you can't.
No, I'm not.
I know it takes us forever to get this stuff.
I'm not having you got your research on.
No,
on the contrary.
don't worry about it.
In fact, I was noting the other night that all the data on political polarization I could find, like all the big research, is all like 2019, 2020.
Yes, it's
before
basically nothing newer than that, which is fucking bizarre.
Well,
maybe not bizarre.
I think that they stopped doing the research because it's so horrifying.
Oh, because the Trump stuff would be horrifying.
Imagine what the real numbers for like trust in government in the UK is at the
Oh
moment.
God.
Like
US to UK as well.
It would not shock me if it was
Look,
down
by
to
the way,
10%, 15%.
At Great Britain, for example, way low down here at 0.8 on the number for Great Britain, and next identical to the Netherlands. There is, and it's going to explain a lot of the things that happen in UK politics, which is that there is not trust in leaders, there's trust in parties relative to the United States, where the United States is all trust in leaders. It's over the one, it's unbelievably high. Switzerland's the lowest, but look at the United States. We're the only country that acts this way. And we're met by Mexico and Peru as the only two that really do it to this effect. That's probably should be disconcerting, I would think. I'm gonna have to use the restroom in a second.
Well, you've also got France, so that
France is very close. France is very close.
That would be Macron, I imagine.
Who was before Macron?
Was it Chirac?
Jacques Chirac, yes, Jacques Chirac.
Yeah, Jacques Chirac. Right. So another way of looking at this is a list of countries where the strong man is like a big thing. Although on the other hand, like New Zealand's in there. I don't know how you'd.
I don't know. Well, where's New Zealand's actually fairly. It's about middling. It's middling.
Yeah. I'm just
high, a little high on
the top 5 or like 10.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I don't know either.
Very interesting.
Menu Too Shy for 10 says, "Hey there, Eden and friend. As someone who has read a lot about North Korea, to me the MAGA movement has devolved into something like the Juche idea, indeed, i.e., that which the dear leader likes and nothing more. I do agree with that."
Juche was about self-reliance.
Yes.
Though, right? Like Juche was fundamentally about autarky. Oh, by the way, you want to hear a really lame joke?
Yes.
What do North Koreans drink for breakfast in the morning? Orange Juche.
Or
Yeah.
that's pretty. It's terrible.
Thank you very much.
It's good. I'll get through this. I'm gonna have to use the restroom in just a second, but then after I'll leave you with a bunch to read. So, in other words, the United States is one of very few political systems where individual leaders appear to drive polarization more than parties themselves, at least since 1996. Thus, we should not expect American voters today to exhibit the same post-election attitude shifts towards losers observed in earlier decades. I'm explaining why people weren't super positive towards Hillary or Biden. That's why that happened. It's the United States is an outlier. Look how extreme of an outlier it is in this. Not only is it the number one, it's so far further than like any other country on this list. Look how much further it is than Mexico and Peru, who are the closest competitors in this.
Yeah.
It's the United States. It's very much us. Pun intended. Thus, we should not expect American voters today to exhibit the same post-election attitude shifts towards losers observed in earlier decades, when political identity becomes tethered to individuals rather than institutions. The psychological mechanisms that once allowed voters to soften towards losing candidates or to distance themselves from their own losing choices may no longer function in the same way. This is another graph just from the same study showing polarization, essentially. I'll get through this one.
This sounds like the populism argument.
Okay, I accidentally wrote the populist delusion again.
Yeah, no, not necessarily the populist delusion, but the populist argument, right? Like when I was in university, right, they were all like, the rise of populism and the rise of Trump, and people don't trust institutions anymore. Well, have you considered having better institutions and not fucking lying to people?
No.
Oh, we can't do that.
Absolutely
right?
not.
Like the institutions are totally psychopathic like this, right? It is everybody's fault, everybody else's fault that no one trusts the institutions except the institutions. Like if everyone just trusted the institutions, everyone would trust the institutions. I hate it.
If you would like to read this book published in 2022 by Dr. Nima Parvini, which he came to the exact same conclusion I did. And I've read this book, by the way. I own it. But I don't like to draw from entirely other people's work and research. I like to just try and come to it from my own perspective. Nima Parvini pulled this in this book. Everything that I'm talking about here, you can get it for £15. In this book, which is a fantastic little book. It's not that long, 174 pages. Check out. I'm shilling so much for Nima tonight, whatever. Anyway. He came to the exact same conclusions that I have here, just from a very, very different perspective. I'm going to, again, finish reading this, and I'll be right back. Across all nations examined, the strongest predictor of both party and leader-effective polarization was self-identified partisanship, with left-right ideological distance playing a much smaller role. It actually has nothing to do with left and right. Nothing. Just what you say you are, not your actual ideological positions, to be clear about what that means. If you give you a bunch of questions and say, how do you fall on these issues? And this will be explained in extreme detail later. That doesn't matter. What matters is your partisanship, not where you actually fall on issues. Both forms of polarization were also less pronounced in countries where citizens expressed low confidence in government. That was very important here. Like Switzerland has extremely, and Finland and Latvia have very low confidence in government. Additionally,
really?
Yes. Additionally, a greater number of political parties in the country was associated with lower levels of both forms of effective polarization. So in countries that have, let's say, 5 or 6 political parties, they don't get affected by this as much. The United States, which is a very stark 2-party system, has this very staunch us or them mindset, predictably, and therefore that inherently whoever the leader is selected as is the de facto, not just the de facto ruler, but in every way in power in the nation, even if he doesn't have ultimate power. It becomes complete polarization towards the leader in these countries that have a 2-party sort of system like the United States does. And as I actually don't know about Mexico and Peru. But a lot of these other countries have multi-party systems. Even the UK, which I mean, functionally did, but look how low it is comparatively to the US.
But the
Even though,
US is effectively two countries,
yes,
right? I mean,
yes,
it has been for as long as I've been paying attention to it. It's two countries. So you could reframe this argument to say that what this is really
this is
about
about the
is
United States.
that,
Yeah,
whoever whichever avatar sort of like emerges to
yeah,
represent either of those two countries in war. It doesn't really matter like what
yeah.
their policies are. It's sort of like a sort of soft civil war that's
It
been
is
going on for like
every
ages.
year. Well, every 4 years, it's a soft civil war that occurs. Of course, these broad international trends and the model accounts for less than 50% of variance in leader and effective polarization. It's a lot, though. It's less than 50%, but it's a lot. There is no single uniform pattern, but individual political figures can tend to exert outsized influence, specifically leaders such as Donald Trump, Robert Fico, and Milo Dukanovic demonstrate how strongly polarizing personalities, and he's quite recent, actually, sort of, demonstrate how strongly polarizing personalities can reshape political landscapes. This also means that it is entirely possible that levels of polarization within a nation may shift once such figures exit the political stage. When Trump leaves office, and I hope this is true, but there is a real possibility when we look at the historical data that this could be reality. When Trump leaves office, for example, the current feverish polarization of the American public could potentially dissipate. I am not saying that because I wish it were true. I am saying that because historical political evidence indicates it likely may. I know people think there's no way the left and right can in any way get together and agree on anything. We can all, many of us can agree, this Iran shit's insane, for example.
See
It's,
that list of politicians,
yeah,
right? Trump, Fico, and Dukanovic,
yeah.
right? They're all right wing politicians, aren't they?
Mm hmm. Mm hmm.
Right. Like, so again, if I was in university and I'd be reading, I was reading this, I
Yeah.
would be like, well, why not Kamala Harris, right? Like, why is it never any left wing politician who is polarizing? This is one of my sort of beefs about political
Well,
science anyway, is that
it's
it's
because
it's
right wing,
slanted
yes,
towards like left wing institutionalism as the cure for all evils and against sort
not
of
my
right
argument,
wing
to
populism.
be
No, no,
fair.
I know, not your argument, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, it's always framed that the reason why the polarization happens is because we have right wing leaders, not the circumstances that
Do
led
we
to
have
them.
right wing leaders?
Well, I mean, that's a good question.
Right?
Perceived right wing
We
leaders,
have
I guess.
seemingly charlatans who play at being right wing while doing nothing that advances right wing goals. And that is my deep concern with all of this, is that it's a play show. Is that Donald Trump is not a conservative. What is he conserved? You know? It
Israel,
is,
obviously.
besides Israel, essentially
No,
all
no,
of
no,
this.
no, no. You don't understand, Aiden, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
from their point of
Oh,
view, Israel and the Jewish people generally is the secret source, right?
mm-hmm.
That's why they're always talking like barbarism versus civilization and
Yes,
how
yes.
they're like a barometer and like
The
they're the canary in
counter
the coal mine. Like,
jihad shit. Yes.
no, no, they are like the essence of the most important part of
Yeah.
Western society. Look, I watch a truly autistic amount of these conferences that these people like do. I check out Artie and Fist, my stream with Rhetorically
Yes.
Defective,
Yes.
if you're like into that kind of stuff. And one of the things that I have noticed is that this continual framing that it is not the West that is the intrinsic and essential part of the West. It is the moose. It like they are the like without them there would be no West. Without them, barbarism would engulf us, right? Without them. So I don't think there's as much distance between this idea, right, that Trump is a conservative. Like, what is he conservative? This mixture of interests is like absolutely endemic. That's what I'm getting
Um,
at.
real quick before he just got justices in that got rid of Roe v. Wade. Are you feeling real fucking positive about Amy Coney Barrett?
No, what? No, look, I'm feeling very positive about Ketanji Brown Jackson,
I'm feeling
right?
real positive about
It is
Ketanji
about
Brown Jackson. Yeah.
it's about time that we got a strong black woman on the Supreme Court who, like, did you ever
Well,
see that
oh,
piece of
I,
research where
yeah.
they added up like all the words
Oh, I
written
know.
by all the
And
Supreme
all she
Court
does is
justices?
she just waffles forever.
Yep,
She has more time taken up spoken than any other justice. I think like all of them combined, wasn't it? She just
yep,
talks. So, but my
yep.
point, Laszlo, in the chat there, is that he has put on the Supreme Court Amy Coney Barrett, who is not a good justice. She's gonna be there, by the way, for fucking 60 years. And that's not good.
We need to clone Clarence Thomas,
That's what I want.
right? And like,
I know Ketanji Brown Jackson wasn't Trump. I didn't say that. I said Amy Coney Barrett was. What I want, my ideal Supreme Court, my ideal Supreme Court, and Clarence Thomas. I posted this on Twitter not long ago. This is what every conservative's ideal Supreme Court is. Can I see it? Oh no, I don't have. There it is. No. Where's the one where just all Clarence Thomases? Whatever. I just want this guy cloned as a supposed racist, right? What I would like is this man cloned 12 times. Okay? Just him. He's based. He actually reads the fucking Constitution and knows what's up. I don't know why you brought her up. Laszlo, you're being silly. Okay. I'm gonna go use the restroom. I'll be right back. There's a
well,
there's
can I plug my channel then while you're away?
absolute. Go ahead. I will be right back. Go ahead and chill to your heart's content. I will be right back.
Hey, chat. Do you like live streams? Yay! Do you like Mooish history? Yay! Well, come check out my channel, NewsFist. I do streams and stuff. I know, shocking, right? On Monday night, you can check out Fistery, where I mean, what am I doing at the moment? I'm doing a historical review of the Legend of the Golem, but there's also like a 6-part series on the history of the Jews in England. It's it's a good time. Um, and you can also check out my live stream with Rhetorically Defective, Artie and Fist, which is on Tuesdays and Fridays, and on Thursdays I do a show with Aaron from Clowntown Chronicle called Clown Based Life Forms. You can check it out on my channel. She's still gone. Okay, well, end of the thing. I don't know what I'm going to talk to you about. How you doing, chat? You doing all right? I hope everything's going well for you. You know, you got enough food, got a nice like warm place to lay your head. 8007. This is a bit awkward, you know what I mean, right? You know, you're on someone's channel and the host like just steps away. Anya Cox, Fistery cured me of my case of historical ignorance. Precisely. And if you wish to be cured of your historical ignorance, you could do that as well. I don't know if I'm supposed to like fucking talking about this article. So listen, I'll just talk about stuff. One of the things that I have been particularly interested in for a while is the decline in political legitimacy. Okay. So legitimacy is this sort of like weird kind of like nebulous concept that you could sort of think of as like the greatest magic trick of government, right? It's like, why do people obey the government without brute force, right? Like, why? Okay. Now, of course, in current day, there are probably a lot more people being like, why? But back in a time, in the before four times, people used to just mostly obey the government, mostly, right? Like you would ask, sort of, you do a poll of people, and like 80% of people would say, I believe the government has my best interests at heart. I believe what it is the government says, and this sort of greases the wheels of government. It makes it easier to govern, right? Because when you say to the people, we're going to do a thing, the people believe you and they do thing. Now, political legitimacy, or answer to these questions, has cratered precipitously. I don't know what the current figures are because they basically stopped doing the research around like 2020. So before the pandemic, or before the effects of the pandemic and the wide sort of collapse in government legitimacy caused by it. So I don't know. You back, Aiden?
Yes, hello.
Right. Sorry, I'm just rambling. Just keeping it live.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you, sir.
yeah, no worries. Right, she's back. She's back, ladies and gentlemen. She's back. She's
Way.
bad. Aiden
I'm
Paladin.
always mad. Did we get through this at all, or
No, I thought I'd wait until you got
go
back.
ahead and chill
So
away, sir?
of course, these are broad international trends. Oh no, you already did that one,
Yeah,
didn't you?
this is
Okay,
a
right.
new part. It starts with although Raylon's et al.
Although
analysis.
Aurelian et al.'s analysis cannot account for the effects of pre-existing dissatisfaction with electoral politics, it may help explain relatively low levels of collective polarization in cases such as the 2015
Yep.
UK general election. Oh, mate, we were so innocent back then. Imagine
I
living in a low
know.
polarization country.
The fucking innocence then, but I've actually got a lot of UK data that like, look. I gotta try and like show my stuff to an international audience, and my audience is predominantly American, but I really, really want to try to introduce Americans to UK politics. Be like, hey, this is interesting. Look
Yeah,
at this.
yeah. It's like American politics in slow motion. It's just much more sad.
Yes. It's
Um,
yeah.
where dissatisfaction was directed more towards Labour leader Ed Miliband rather than the Labour Party itself. Well, that's before we knew that Ed
That's
Miliband was
before we knew it
basically
was
a
a
Bolshevik
nonce.
who's trying to kill us all, right? Like,
Yeah, well, and I also like I put this in the context of put yourself in 2015, and when you do kind of like retrospective analysis like this, you have to try and time travel and be like, hey, let's forget that Ed Miliband was involved. Is also very curiously, why is Ed Miliband the only person to kind of catch any flack over the Epstein shit? Weird.
I mean, did he
Weird.
though? I mean, he's still in office, right?
But he's caught
he's
flack
he's
over it.
still
Almost no
putting.
one else has.
I hope you're going to be enjoying your Goyim-based energy diet,
Oh, I sure.
Aiden. You
Well, I
know.
don't. No, I didn't grab a Goyim-based energy drink with
No,
Goyana.
no. The energy diet. So
Mm,
it's where we cut your
yeah,
energy intake down to make you more lean and mean.
yeah.
There has been a shocking insolence among the sort of general rabble.
Mandelson's the one who's been arrested. You're right, Severed. But
No,
Miliband's caught some shit for this bullshit too, hasn't he? Did I imagine that?
I don't. He
Did I literally
seems
just
to
get their
be.
names, the M names mixed up? Maybe I did. Never mind. Just ignore everything I said.
He
Fuck
seems to
that.
be basically like he's like the
Well,
Teflon Bolshevik.
Miliband is a fucking loot. Okay, I've got opinions towards Ed Miliband. It was Mandelson, though. You're right. Who's the only one who's been arrested? Yeah, you were correct. I was incorrect about that.
Yeah. No, I don't think Miliband is. He's probably at home stroking himself off and reading Lenin.
I'm sure he is, but it's again, he didn't get the flack for that as much as the Labour Party did. And I'm saying that because it's not just me who thinks this. This comes from research. It's not just my opinion. You know, it's demonstrable. Is that the Labour Party was castigated and excoriated for Miliband's horrific fucking policies. But by the way, what preceded him? More of the same bullshit, by the way.
Yeah,
Every single
yeah, of
fucking
course.
time. You get people forget that who brought in millions and millions more foreigners than anyone else, or I think really in any administration in the UK. It was Bojo.
Yeah. Well, it's almost as though there is a power beyond
Yeah.
government
Almost like it's
that is
all the same
neither
shit too.
really left nor right, but
Yes.
pursues their own
Yes.
objective and merely appears to be left or right as the circumstances demand, but have a long-term transformative plan
We
for the rest of us little people.
have to get out of this left right paradigm. This is distractionary circus bullshit to get you all be like, oh, my team, left team, right team. No. The people who are in charge are all on the same team, and it's not yours. That's the important thing to take away from a lot of this. As I say, the next major test of this dynamic will likely come in 2029, the 2029 UK general election, where overtly polarizing figures, including Nigel Farage, Zach Polanski, and Rupert Lowe, are set to compete. What's as I'm on the topic, what's your opinion on that? I think I
Fun.
know.
Polanski.
We big Polanski fans here.
I saw a clip of Polanski the other day, basically resurrecting this whole, the right people, the right wing, they
Yeah.
have no place in our society.
Hmm.
Like they're just gonna have to whip out the gulags at some point, right?
Yeah,
They're,
they will.
just,
They
they're
will.
clearly they're clearly talking themselves up to it, right? Like if these people have no place in our society, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
You're
what do
just
you mean by
gonna you're
that?
just gonna cut them out of society completely, and then when they get like pissed off, you'll be like, "See, we told you they were dangerous, right? I took this random dog and I beat the living crap out of it for like years and years and
Yeah.
years, and then it bit me, you know."
But I mean,
See, I told you.
look, Zach Polanski's a retard. Nigel Farage is a retard. The only person I have any hope for is Rupert Lowe. And
Yes, right,
now,
but Nigel,
Blast told
Nigel.
me some stuff about him last night that I'm a little bit like about even Rupert Lowe. But this is the whole. This is the problem. Democracy is a farce. It's fake. This is all fake and gay. People are all suck, and they all are only interested in themselves. I really had hoped Rupert Lowe was what Trump was supposed to be. Self-made in that he's self-funded. He owns the Southampton Football Club, yeah?
You know what Potomac fever is, right? Have
Mm-hmm.
you heard that term? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Just for the chat, in case you don't know, Potomac fever is a peculiar. I only heard this term relatively recently. It's an American term, the Potomac
Yes.
River in Washington D.C.
Chin? Yep.
And it's basically like you get a new dude, he's like elected, he's like, I'm going to go into Washington, I'm going to clean up those fat
Yeah.
cats, and no. And even if they are sincere, right, they get into Washington, they
And
meet the dude
then
in the
they
gray
can't
suits.
do anything. And it turns
Yeah,
out
yeah,
everything, and you want to get anything done, you need a billion different lobby groups to help you do it. And that
yep,
means you become owned. Yes.
yep, yeah. I mean, like as if you weren't owned to begin with in the current climate. I
If you weren't
mean,
already owned, you will become owned. I don't
yeah.
know if Trump was owned in 2016. I don't know. It's difficult to say. I don't think.
The allegation is that he converted to Judaism in 2017. That is the allegation. I cannot
I
find
think.
conclusive proof of that.
Would you like
But
my opinion on that?
mm,
Trump. I first of all, I'm skeptical of the idea that Trump was ever under any serious threat of assassination. But I think he believes he
yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah.
I think
Well,
they
you
did take a shot at his ear, and that would take a very, very highly trained sniper to
did
miss.
you ever hear about the JDL, the Jewish Defense League,
Yes.
in Los Angeles?
Yes.
Okay, so one of the scams that they used to run on the rappers there, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
like once a rapper gets like famous and they get
Yeah,
money,
they've done this for
is
40
they
years.
will literally like call a hit on that person, like a botched hit, right? And then provide them security. So they literally play
Yep.
both sides,
Yeah,
right?
of
And
course.
they put the person in danger and then relieve the danger. This is called, oh my god, there's a name for this scam. I got into like grok
I
really
knew what
bad.
you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a scam, right? Like
Yes.
you literally like, oh, it's a version of the protection scam, and it makes me
Yes.
wonder because what this tends to lead to in politicians is a thing that I call enclosure. I'm sure there's like some other name for it, right? But when the politician in question is gradually cut off from
Which
reality,
they did to
and
Trump, and I think
yes,
was exacerbated by the Charlie Kirk actual assassination
I
of
was
being
just
like,
about to
oh
say,
look,
right?
they're gonna
Yeah.
do they're gonna do to you what they did to Charlie Kirk.
No. Well, yes, that's right. But also, right,
Hmm.
both Kirk and Tucker were profound links between Trump and the real world.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
exactly.
and
Hundo.
probably Alex Jones as well. Okay, and
Yes.
by severing
And it's
those links,
insane if you're linked to the real world as Alex Jones, by the way.
hey,
Fucking,
like Alex,
like,
look,
look,
you
I'm
might,
kind of
say what
retarded.
you want about Alex Jones, right? But he knows the American mind, right? He's out there in the streets. He knows what people think,
Yeah, there, yeah.
right?
He is.
Like, no, I'm serious, right? So like
No,
Trump
for real
now
though,
sort
you're
of
right. Yeah,
exists in a sort of
bubble.
free-flowing, mooish mirror ball,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like all of the information that he receives is through people like Kushner,
What's that
Witkoff,
crazy woman? He's got his faith,
Paula White.
Paula White. Oh my God, I have never seen a more heretical Sorry. I became
No, you're right.
it's
It's
I get
totally
a lot of
heretical.
people in my audience are probably tired of hearing of it. I became Christian, very deeply Christian, about 5 years ago now. I had a near-death experience. I nearly died. They told Bill I was brain dead, you know,
Woof.
and I became very, very
Did you tell them that you were just a social scientist? Sorry. Sorry.
right. They told Bill I was brain dead. I did have holes in my brain. Like I was fucked, man. And so I became very Christian after that because I felt like Christ, and I thought I saw Jesus, like, in my head. But that's probably all bullshit. But I thought I saw it, and so it feels very, very real to me. And then when I see this heretical bullshit, because what did I do the second I got out of that and I started to think, like, yeah, I think I believe in this. I think that Christ saved me. Is I read the Bible in its totality and fullness, and I have had to come to the realization that I think that's like 1% of Christians who've actually done that. What the
I'm
fuck's
sorry.
going on?
I cannot accept these experiences as real until I have seen a peer-reviewed study, with a weighted sample population.
Well, I don't know. Again, that is me speculating and spitting off the cuff.
I don't know.
But
I'm just
I
like,
know, I know, I know.
trying to, like,
But
take the piss out of,
it's
this idea that you can determine sort of everything.
easy. How many people will put the words of Jesus or the name of Jesus in they mouth and then talk some mad shit? That Paula White woman's out of her mind.
It's nothing new. It's nothing new. Like,
I know.
the Bible
It's
talks about it all
Schofield
the time.
Bible
The early
stuff.
church fathers,
Yeah.
they're like, you go around, but the thing, did you see that clip of like Paula White like literally writing in the fucking Bible?
Oh, I know. I
Oh
played
my
it
God,
last night on stream. She's like, I just cross out Jeremiah and write in Paula. The fuck, bitch? What are you doing? I'm supposed to listen to this woman?
I'm pretty sure that is like a mortal, like the most mortal sin. Like, you're literally like defacing the word of God. You're like,
yes.
I'm just going to cross out Jeremiah. Paula.
And then I saw a bunch of
straight to me.
other supposed evangelicals who say they do the same thing, where they just cross out names in the Bible and write their own name in. Now I don't know how true that is, but I saw people on Twitter saying it, which means it's almost definitely fake.
I can believe it.
But
I can believe it.
Is this? I don't know if anyone out in the chat is an evangelical of some sort. You're not gonna be around anymore because I've talked so much shit about the Evas recently. Is that a thing that you do? Is that a thing that evangelicals do where you just like, I don't want to like that this scripture is about somebody else. It's about me now. Crazy, bro.
Yeah. It's fucking mental, man. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, so and this is the thing, right? Like, Trump's been an evangelical like for ages, right? Like, that's how.
Well, I don't think he was ever a Christian. However, I do think that after that experience,
apparently he used to be really into
was he?
What's the name
Really?
of that preacher?
Oh,
Yeah, he used to be able to like recite
yeah.
like whole sermons. He was like really
damn
like,
it.
I mean, maybe it was just because it was a political thing.
I can't remember his. I know who you're talking about. I know exactly who you're talking about, but I can't think of his name. Yeah.
I have a different theory on this, Aiden. Excuse my voice. I think that after the assassination attempt, they basically convinced him that he was the righteous Gentile. So in
yes, I agree with
Jewish
this entirely.
eschatology,
Yes,
there is a legend, a theory, like whatever, that the Messiah
Yes.
will be enabled by the actions of a righteous Gentile. The
righteous,
most righteous
yes,
Gentile.
yes,
right?
yes.
Who
I
will
think they
act as, like,
sold him this. I do think
yeah.
they sold him this.
I do think they sold him this, and like Jared's Jewish, or Chabad Jewish.
Yes,
to
he's
be
Chabad.
specific,
Be very
right?
clear. He's not just any kind of Jew. He's Chabad. That has
Yep.
to be clear. He's
So
Chabad.
is
Those people are nuts.
Ivanka, so is his daughter.
Yes, they're all Chabad.
So he's surrounded by Chabad, and Chabad are incredibly influential. Like, don't let anyone tell. Like, they are very, very influential and very, very.
If you'd like to watch some videos on this,
down low.
I know. If you'd like to watch some videos on this, go check out William. William's channel.
Yeah.
He's got tons of videos on Chabad. And
Artie had some beef with William.
So whatever. Look, no offense to your friend Artie, he doesn't like me either. But he also doesn't. I'm
That
not
is
surprised.
not true. That's not true.
He
He likes
hates
you.
me. He hates
No,
me
that
in
is
Spoon. What are
absolutely not
you
true.
talking about?
No. No, 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 no. He just doesn't like Spoon.
Oh,
No, no,
okay.
no.
I thought he hated me
He
too.
thinks you're lovely.
Oh, I thought he hated me.
No, no, no,
Whatever.
no, 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 no.
Okay, I didn't know that. I thought he just. Normally, when someone hates Spoon, they just like they also hate me by association. You know.
A whole autistic stream on the beef between you and Spoon, and came out on your side quite strongly.
I didn't know
So
that. I just assumed. Okay, so I have made an assumption, which makes an ass out of you and me. All right. So my bad. I just assumed because he hates Spoon, he'd hate me. Anyway.
no, no,
My bad.
no.
Then I apologize deeply
You
for that.
you are like the female Benjamin Boyce.
Well,
Sorry,
Ben Boyce and I are good friends, so good, I guess.
yes, but I know I'm friends with Ben as well, right? Like but like in the sense that Ben is just generally very pleasant
He is. He's such a
individual.
nice man to talk to. I always
Did you
every time I go on Ben Boyce stream, I feel like zen afterwards.
did you see the interview he did with Vocal Distance like
Oh no.
last couple of days ago? Oh mate, oh it's so bad.
I'll have to check it out
Oh,
then. And I
it's
looked
terrible.
at it and I was like, ooh. It was a bit. I knew it was gonna take something out of my fucking psyche to do it to watch that. Oh well. I didn't know that though.
Okay.
It's good to know.
So we have gotten off track.
Yes.
How long is this article?
It's
by the
long.
way?
Let me
How long
read
is
some
this
more.
whole
Let me
thing?
read some more super chats first. Ardent Party for
Oh
Two
my god,
says,
we're only like we're not even
Yeah.
a quarter of the way through.
"Look,
Oh
it's
my god.
me. I'm thorough." Ardent Party for Two says, "How do we feel about Magyar Peter? I don't trust him. You got it, dude. First thing he fucking does when he gets into power, after he ousts the Trump and Vance sponsored candidate Viktor Orban, is he just says no more fucking immigrants in Hungary. I'm so far from his literally first action pretty positive towards Peter Magyar. We'll see. We'll see. It's always a we'll see on this, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's see, how do I pronounce this? Alcid Leon for 2 says Apollo White reminds me of Reverend X. Yeah. Menu Too Shy for 5 says being right wing, really right wing, has been fundamentally illegal since September 2nd, 1945. I wish we could get past the ghost of the 20th century. Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know who didn't want to get past the ghosts of the 20th century? Hitler.
Yeah. Did we get to this whole section? No, I don't think so. So
I'm sorry, I'm kind of zoned out. I do apologize. No,
It's all good.
wait, where were we in the
it's
the
all good.
article? Okay.
Once one becomes partisan, they tend to remain one for life, if only to avoid the psychological discomfort of cognitive dissonance. Over time, their attitudes towards parties or leaders may shift in intensity, but the underlying alignment is remarkably stable. That was the part that really shocked me. It is remarkably stable. The question then is not just why people stay partisan, but how that process begins in the first place. Often it begins with the most basic component of the democratic process, the act of voting. In 2014, Dinas examined the effects of voting on partisanship formation by interviewing Americans who were around 18 years old, and that is it. It was like 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, no one older than that. In 1965, and then again in 1973, tracking their political partisanship and voting behavior over time. The timing here is relevant as 1968, was the last U.S. presidential election in which the voting age was 21, meaning many participants were either newly eligible or on the cusp of eligibility during that cycle. This was, in terms of a natural experiment, this is as good as it gets, okay? What Dinas found is that eligibility alone appeared to generate partisanship. Among those not yet eligible to vote, 9.5% reported strong partisan identification with either Democrats or Republicans. Among those who were eligible, the figure rose to 16.8%. It nearly doubled. Simply becoming eligible to participate in the democratic system made individuals more likely to commit psychologically to one side. Actually, voting amplified this number further. Participation in the 1968 election increased partisanship by an average of 0.32 points on a 3-point scale. In other words, from the very first vote, the process of political alignment is already underway. One might assume this. I'll try to speed through a little bit more of the article because, as you said, we're only through a third of it. And by the way, like, again, all of the detail in here, if you want to go read, if for some reason you're a nerd like me and you want to read the ordinal logic regression, here it is. One might assume this shift is driven by greater political engagement, that people become partisan because they are more informed or more interested in politics once they can participate. But the data do not support this notion. DNAS found no increase in political interest nor news consumption among voters compared to non-voters. In fact, on some measures such as political knowledge, we'll get into this more as we go through this, in some measures, such as political knowledge and political activity, non-eligible individuals actually scored higher on political knowledge than those who were eligible. Being able to vote makes you retarded. The increase in partisanship could not be explained by greater knowledge, experience, nor engagement. It was not learning about politics that drove alignment, it was action. The mere act of voting appears to produce partisanship. Would you take the next?
This makes sense. Sorry if I could just
go ahead. Yes, please.
Like, the whole ritual of it. The time for choosing is now.
Yes.
Right. It just you can see how the sort of the psychological effect of this, like the framing of it, as well as the idea, well, you're a man now, son, or a woman, whatever. You're 21, right? Yep. It's time for you to take responsibility, right? Yep. And be a part of democracy. And look, I'm sure you've read as much crap from fucking dog shit civil society organizations as I have, right? Yeah. And the way they're constantly framing it with
you gotta vote. You gotta vote. You gotta vote.
You gotta vote. Just this heavy guilt, right? And also the way they frame it is like voting is like the most important thing about our society, right? It's what differentiates us from the smelly browns, right? Yep. Like, or from the fashy North Koreans, right? They don't get to vote. Aren't you happy you get to vote? Like, make your voice heard.
Indeed. Yeah. If you'll continue, it starts with, of course, these effects. You've got my whole document now. I sent it.
I'm following. Okay. Of course, these effects are not uniform across candidates or elections. In the 1968 race between Richard Nixon and Hubert Humphrey, for example, eligible voters who preferred Nixon were 8.3% more likely to identify as weak Republicans, and only 4% more likely to identify as strong Republicans compared to their non-eligible counterparts. Among those who preferred Humphrey, eligibility produced a 0.28 point increase on a 7-point scale of Democratic identification. You should really put percentages in there because I can't.
No, well, it would have been difficult to calculate this into a percentile. However, this is where it gets. So keep this in mind. 0.28 is going to be compared to 0.45 in a second. You're going to see this directly over time. The partisanship increases inherent by just existing and voting.
Yeah, I could see that. This would make sense. Over time, however, these effects compound. Among those who identified as Democrats in 1965 and preferred Humphrey in 1968, eligible voters increased their Democratic identification by 0.311 points. Among those who identified as Republicans in 1965 and preferred Nixon, the increase was even larger, 0.45 points. The longer someone identifies with a political party, the stronger that identification tends to become, reinforced by repeated participation in elections.
You can see it.
What about swing
ineligibles?
Voters?
Well,
what about swing voters?
Swing voters are rare, by the way. I do account for them in this analysis. Moreover, these dynamics do not only apply to those who already lean partisan. I answered your... Sorry, you keep asking questions and then my fucking shitty article answers it.
It's what I do, man. It's like tons of my content is just me like reading stuff and then being like,
Yeah.
well, actually, like,
Well, no, I have accounted for that, and I've answered the question. Even
okay,
self-identified independents are pulled into the gravitational field of party identity. For example, independents who voted for Nixon in 1968 were 35% more likely to identify as Republicans by 1973 than their non-eligible components. Notably, no comparable shift occurred among independents who voted for Hubert Humphrey, a reminder that these effects are contingent on candidates as well. Be aware of this. But once someone starts to vote for a party, 35% more likely to vote of independents, people who are not tied to one party, once they start to tie themselves to a party, they become permanently, in many cases, not in all, about 35% of cases, more partisan. Now, compound this every single voting cycle, 35% by 35% by 35%. That's just with this one, but it's going to be in that kind of range, probably. Taken together, the findings evidence that voting does not merely reflect partisan identity, it helps create and entrench it. The act of participation strengthens existing leanings and, in many cases, accelerates the transition from neutrality into alignment. What it does not do, however, is encourage movement between parties. There is little evidence that voting causes individuals to switch sides over time, even when their behavior might suggest openness to doing so. This is important. Is that, like, even if someone's like, oh, I'm an independent, I'm kind of this or that other party. Once you start to become entrenched in a political party, you will not move statistically. You might individually, but statistically, no. Once someone is on a partisan path, they tend to stay on it, becoming more committed, more consistent, and over time more resistant to change. But again, the political environment in the 1960s and 70s is far removed from that of the new millennium. So how consistent are these findings? Guess what, guys? They're completely fucking consistent, and they are analogous from the 70s and the 60s as they are in the 2000s. A study from Meredith 2009 examined changes in partisanship as influenced by voting eligibility using the California statewide voter file between 2000 and 2004. He found that individuals who became eligible to vote in the year 2000 were 2.7% more likely to be registered with a political party by 2004 within 4 years, and 5.8% more likely to be registered Democrats, because it's fucking California, compared to those who were ineligible.
I have to say, I would regard the California statewide voter file as tainted data.
It is, but they're all Democrat. That's why you only find it in the Democrat position, obviously, but they're Democrats. It's California.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So would you get this one? The longer.
So the longer someone is able to vote, the more likely they appear to actually do so. Those who were eligible to vote in 2000 were more likely to vote in the 2006 midterms than those who were ineligible at the time. Eligibility for the 2004 presidential election in particular was a strong predictor of turnout in the following midterms, with a turnout ratio of 1.34 in 2006 for those eligible in 2004, compared to 1.08 for those who are not. That's roughly a 20% increase in participation.
It compounds year after year. This pathological voting. That's why I called this pathological democracy. Is there any other term to describe this other than pathology?
Well, I mean, it is a pathology. Look at what it's doing to. I mean, this is we've got so much of this article. Yeah, but this is one of the things that I wanted to talk about. How
we'll just speed up on it, but
the combination of sort of democracy with, you know, the total state, right? Where, you know, because the route to power through government is you know, the wills and wishes and attitudes of the people. Therefore, the government must branch out and control every aspect of anything that can influence the attitudes of the people.
Yes.
It makes everybody insane, right?
Because
the government leaks out from its, you know, usually sort of like
fucking
small
tentacles.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, you know, usually, right, like the functions of government are just basically like, you know, military, taxation, you know, maybe like law, like this, you know, kind of relatively like small stuff, and then it just bleeds out and it becomes just anything that can influence the attitudes of the population must
Yes.
be taken over by the government to not only ensure that they get back in, but to block that power from their political opponents.
Indeed.
Because any asset that is capable of influencing the attitudes of the voter base becomes effectively, a piece on the chessboard. And so the state just leaks out to control everything, and then you get the
Yeah.
total state basically.
You have to view it as this tentacled fucking uh, mass that just reaches out and touches people, and it infects. It's got ink in it, right? And it's red and it's blue in the United States context. Red and blue ink, and it just touches you, and you become infected with that ink. And once it infects you, you're incapable of being able to fucking get your brain outside of it because you have been infected with the ink of the tentacled Leviathan. Right? Leviathan and its enemies, such a good book for a reason, right?
Yeah, wait, who wrote that? I know that book from somewhere.
Leviathan and its enemies. Well, it's under a pseudonym, right?
No, wait, who wrote that?
It's Sam Francis, but
it's Sam Francis, right?
But we don't know who Sam Francis really is.
The mysterious.
Maybe he is now that he's dead. But this book is another book, by the way, guys, if you've never read it, is one of the most important books to look. What other items do customers buy? Parvini, James Burnham. This is a great list of books, by the way. Also here, another fantastic James Burnham book, which I cannot over-recommend, Defenders of Freedom, The Machiavellians. This book is fantastic. Democracy, the God That Failed, Suicide of the West. It's all just minted over here in Amazon. This book, however, Samuel T. Francis never released this book. They found it apparently in his collected works when he post mortem, and released it. It is one of the most brilliant political treatises I've ever read. I've also noticed that Curtis Yarvin has been becoming more based recently. I don't know if he's just trying to acclimate for what's going on there, but I'm happy with it either way, because I was very upset with predictably Curtis Yarvin being one of them, having a very pro-Israel stance at the beginning of this war, and he has now corrected himself, which I am skeptical about, but I am very happy to see. Manu Tushai for 10 says, people are tribal. Most people think in an us versus them filter. Inherently, yes, you're correct. Not a true versus untrue filter. The sooner one makes peace with this, the sooner they can be free. Well said, sir, and absolutely true. So the longer one is eligible to vote, the more likely they appear to be to. Bleh. The longer one is able to vote, the more likely they appear to be to actually do so. Those who were eligible to vote in 2000. Oh, did we read this? We did. Sorry. Voting itself further reinforces this pattern. Voting in 2000 increased participation in the 2006 midterms by between 3.1 and 4.6%, while voting in 2004 increased 2006 participation by 11.3%. Looking at the longer-term effects, Meredith also found that being eligible to vote in 1996 was associated with a 2.2% increase in being registered with a political party. This is the part that's important. It's going to make you a partisan. In other words, the act of voting tends to promote further voting behavior, and with increased participation comes increased party affiliation and therefore partisanship. Would you read the next part then, I suppose?
Sure. This pattern appears to hold across time and across elections, suggesting that these effects are not confined to a particular political era, and they are all almost certainly still operating today. Denny and Doyle, 2008, conducted similar research in the UK.
This is the cool UK research, by the way. This stuff blew my mind.
Further reinforcing this pattern across different democratic systems, using longitudinal data from the National Child Development Study, which tracked individuals born in March 1958 to 2000. They examined voting behavior across multiple general elections. Respondents were asked whether they had voted in the general elections of the late 20th century, Those who had voted in 1979 were significantly more likely to vote in the two subsequent elections. However, 38.8% of the sample changed their voting patterns over time, suggesting that while voting reinforces participation, some elections may act as entry points, turning otherwise disengaged individuals into, at the very least,
2016.
occasional voters.
This is
Yeah,
2016 in the US. That's why I brought this up. That's why I bring up this
right.
data. This is 2016.
And
Turning point.
I feel like there's a possibility that Trump turning around and boot fuking,
Yeah.
as V would say,
Yeah.
his electorate so severely is going to drive mass disengagement from sort of new MAGA, depending on
Yeah.
who the candidate
Yeah.
is, and probably in the midterms, a bunch of people are
Yes.
just going to be like, screw you,
People are
I'm
just
staying
going
home.
to, what's going to happen is you're going to have a mass decrease in voter turnout. People are disaffected. They don't want to vote for Israel first in any capacity at all. So you're going to see that. It is inevitable. All these people screaming, oh, the midterms, the midterms. Oh, well, you did this. There's nothing that can be done about it, essentially. Unless you turn course. And he's not going to.
No, they can't, right? Like
Well, yeah,
the
exactly.
whole political system. I mean, look, I think, quite frankly, they're going to have a choice between left wing Israel and right wing Israel.
Yep. Yep.
Like, okay, like, as
Which
people pointed
form
out,
of Israel do I like the
you know,
most?
Biden did not let did not go into like Iran, but I mean, the problem is that, like, look at New York, where, like, who is the anti-Israel candidate? Fucking Mandami.
Mandami.
Right, like,
Yeah.
you can't get like a white, like, Israel critical
No, you
person.
get some fucking,
Yeah, it
brownoid.
it
Uh,
it has to be like, a Muslim, because
yeah.
you're like, where are the Orthodox Christian
I don't
candidates
want
who
the
are just being
brownoid, by
like,
the way. I don't want the Muslim. I don't want
yeah,
him either. But the unfortunate reality is that the only way that you get someone who is Israel critical, which should be everyone at this point, is a fucking Muslim. And
yeah,
that's what New York voted for, was we don't want Israel first. And
yeah. Well, I mean,
that is the position of the Trump administration, is Israel first.
well, America first, but Israel first.
Oy vey, goyim. You gotta get that shit straight indeed. After accounting for a wide range of variables, including marital and parental status, union membership, personality traits such as industriousness, education, social class, and mental health, having voted in a previous election still resulted in a 13.1% increased probability of voting in a subsequent one. Taken together with the earlier findings discussed, we find that consistently the very act of voting across different countries and political systems promotes future voting behavior, and with it a persistence and often strengthening of partisanship. But of course, selecting a preferred leader is only one part of the democratic process. This is where to shift into what I think is the more interesting part. I think it all is interesting, or I wouldn't have written it, right? The country is then left with whoever has been chosen, and more often than not, that leader fails to fully live up to expectations or campaign promises, if only due to the inherent limitations of the office. With that gap between promise and when that gap between promise and reality emerges, it creates additional conditions for cognitive dissonance. This is where the phenomenon of sticking with your vote as a product of the partisanship voting produces part of the partisanship voting produces part of the partisanship that voting produces, becomes particularly salient. That was a correct sentence. I just read it wrong. Mullainathan and Washington, 2006, examined the sticking with your vote phenomenon directly, looking at the role of cognitive dissonance in young voters 2 years after presidential elections between 1978 and 1994. After accounting for a 46% turnout rate among eligible 18 to 19-year-olds, they found that those who were eligible to vote were roughly 4 times as, get this straight, voting made people 4 times more politically polarized. The very act of casting a vote did that and demonstrated stronger party affiliation than those who were ineligible. Once again, the mere ability to vote appears to intensify both polarization and partisanship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you get the next part?
Yeah.
In this
case, polarization included responses to questions such as whether the president made respondents feel angry. Melanchthon and Washington also examined attitudes towards other political figures and found similar effects. Voters were more than twice as polarized as non-voters in their views of members of Congress, and more than four times as polarized in their views of House representatives. Notably, however, there was no comparable effect of voting eligibility on attitudes towards senators.
I think it's just no one knows about senators.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
They further found that the timing of voting also mattered. Senatorial elections take place during both presidential election years and midterms, but participation is typically higher during presidential cycles, when voters are already turning out to vote for the president. These election years also tend to be more politically charged and divisive. Yeah, that makes sense. As a result, voting for a senator during a presidential election year is associated with greater increases in polarization, an effect the researchers observed directly.
Yep.
Specifically, voting increased polarization towards senators by 23% when those senators were elected during presidential election years, compared to midterms. Consistent with this, senators elected during presidential cycles were viewed through a 22% more polarized lens than those elected during midterms. What this suggests is that voting does not simply reflect existing political divisions, it actively exacerbates them. Participation in the democratic process shapes not only how voters feel about the candidates they support, but also how they perceive the opposition on any number of political topics. Well, also,
Yeah.
there's all the attack ads and
Yes.
stuff.
Oh,
and all the hysteria.
I'm literally about to get into the attack ads.
See, I've
Yeah.
done it again. Yeah, right.
Bro,
right.
it's not necessarily quite directly after this, but it's very soon after this. Or I get into the attack ads and what they do to people.
Okay, you want to take over?
Sure. The economic conditions of a country are one political topic of particular interest, because I'd mentioned economic stuff. When a president runs on an economy-focused campaign, as Trump did 3 times over, by the way, voters expect to see some kind of positive change, and economic conditions were similarly the center of the 1992 presidential race between incumbent George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton. This is not as powerful as the stuff with Carter, but it goes really hard later. I'm going to tell you this with Carter. You are going to see a direct reflection of the current Trump administration in the Jimmy Carter one. It is a direct reflection of it. Between 1990 and 1992, more than 25% of all newspaper coverage containing the phrase President Bush also included the words economy or unemployment. Similarly, more than 25% of televised political campaign advertisements in 1992 focused on the economy. According to Len's 2014 book, Follow Leader, by the way, check this book out. I use this for so much of my analysis here, because this book, like I said, it was originally published in 2012, but it was updated in 2014. This book has got it's just chapter after chapter after chapter of nothing but statistical data. And I have republished his statistics here, which I feel a little bit bad about. Not entirely. Okay. That level of sustained attention was unprecedented in American politics from 1960 up to that point and would not be seen again until the 2000s. When a political issue becomes highly salient, meaning it's activated in the minds of people. As the economy and unemployment did in 1992, or immigration did in 2016, presidential performance on that issue becomes equally salient. In the spring of 1991, Lenz asked participants whether they believed the economy had gotten better. This is insane. Whether they believed the economy had gotten better or worse, or stayed the same over the previous year, whether they approved of George Bush's performance as president. He then asked the same respondents the same question again in the fall of 1992, just before the election. This graph is insane, bro. In 1991, approval of Bush was associated with perceptions that the economy had improved. In other words, If you liked Bush, you thought the economy was getting better. While disapproval was linked to perceptions the economy had worsened. By 1992, after a year of intense media focus on the economy, this relationship had become significantly more pronounced. Disapproval, you can literally see it in the graph here. Like, look at the sharpness of this curve, right?
Damn.
Disapproval of Bush was even more strongly linked to negative economic perceptions, while approval remained associated with positive perceptions, but somewhat more weakly than the year prior. In other words, those who already disliked Bush became more fortified in their views, while those who supported him largely maintained their belief that the economy had improved under his leadership. That was a lie, that was literally incorrect. Specifically, respondents who believed the economy had become much worse lowered their approval of Bush by nearly 50 points on a 100-point scale. Those who believed the economy had improved also lowered their approval, but by a much smaller margin, around 25 points. A year of concentrated media coverage and a reality of living under the Bush economy, by the way, did not inform voters, but rather widen the divide in how they perceived economic reality. In 1991, these perceptions would not have carried enough weight to decisively have influenced an election, but by 1992 they did. The economy had become central enough to voter judgment to help deliver the presidency to Bill Clinton, resulting in a rare one-term presidency for George H.W. Bush. Clinton, for his part, recognized the power of this dynamic and actively leaned into it. During his presidency, and particularly in the lead up to the 1996 election against Bob Dole, he emphasized improvements in the economy under his first term, and it worked, at least amongst his supporters. Those who were more favorably disposed towards Clinton were also more likely to believe that the economy had improved in the preceding year. Regardless of the actual strength of Clinton's economy, it was framed as an improvement over conditions under Bush, and as a result, Clinton supporters came to believe the economy had in fact improved. This is what all this is bullshit, though. It's all bullshit. None of this is real, right? Would you read the next segment for me?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, how did the economy actually do under Clinton?
We're going to get into Carter, where I have more direct evidence. It did not get that much better, but the Carter stuff is so overt. We're about to get into the Carter stuff.
When a leader is failing on a particular issue, such as Trump's abandonment of mass deportations, the same mechanism can be used in reverse, not to defend the issue, but to redirect attention away from it entirely. Jimmy Carter attempted this exact tactic in the lead up to the 1980 election against Ronald Reagan. Objectively, the economic conditions under Carter were dire: 14% inflation, 18% interest rates, high unemployment, and an approval rating hovering around 19 points. Yet despite Reagan's campaign focusing heavily on the economy, those who approved of Carter were still more likely to believe that the economy was doing well. The reason likely lies in what Carter chose to emphasize instead. His campaign messaging focused far more on national defense, particularly in the months leading up to the election, only shifting towards economic issues as the election drew closer. Sound familiar?
At this chart. Look at this. Look at this improvement of how much people thought the Carter economy improved once he started attacking what? Iran and Afghanistan. This is a complete and utter mirror reflection of everything we're looking at today. This chart. Please internalize this chart. This is what you're living in right now. It is a complete and utter reflection. During the period where Carter's messaging centered on defense, approval of Carter was largely unrelated to perceptions of the economy amongst his supporters. But as his campaign began to engage with economic issues more directly, mirroring Reagan's focus, Carter supporters became more likely to report the economy had improved under him. In effect, Carter appears to have successfully redirected attention away from his economic failures, at least temporarily, towards external threats such as the Iran hostage crisis and the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. The issue itself did not disappear, but its salience did. And with it, its influence on perception. Again, is this all starting to sound suspiciously familiar? The Donald Trump
Yeah.
administration is a mirror of, look at, oh my god, look at this fucking graph. The Donald Trump administration is a mirror of the Carter one. I am shocked at how fucking similar these things are. Would you read this next part for me, please?
Sure. Hang on.
What's perhaps?
What's perhaps more surprising is that policy positions such as approaches to the economy, the very things we tend to assume drive voting behavior, do not appear to play the central role one might expect. Lenz examined 10 different policy positions and their relationship to vote choice across a range of elections and countries. These included support for labor unions in the United States in 1948 and voting for Harry Truman, support for public works jobs and voting for Carter in 1975, support for increased defense spending and positive approval ratings of Reagan in 1980, support for nuclear power in the Netherlands following Chernobyl, and voting for the pro-nuclear Christian Democrat Party in 1986, support for free trade agreements in Canada and voting conservative in 1988, ideological conservatism and approval of George H.W. Bush in 1992, support for European integration in Britain and voting Labour in 1997, support for increased defence spending after 9/11, and approval of George W. Bush, and support for investing in social security funds and voting for George W. Bush in 2000. Of
Look
these 10
at this
positions,
graph. Yeah, here we go.
9
Continue.
had no effect on voting behavior whatsoever. The only measurable impact was on general approval of Ronald Reagan, not a policy position. Across different countries, different time periods, and different major policy issues, the pattern was the same. People did not vote based on policy. Instead, they voted first and only afterwards adjusted their personal policy positions to align with the candidate or party they had chosen. Huh.
Yep.
So, if not policy, why do people continue to vote for particular politicians or parties? The most obvious answer is that they simply like them. But even that turns out to be incomplete. Lenz tested that as well, and what he found was more precise. It wasn't raw likability that drove voting behavior, but perceived performance, or more accurately, perceived character. Interesting.
Yeah.
It's going to be bad for Trump if this is correct.
It's gonna be real bad for Trump because everything about Trump is perceived character. His entire popularity is based on perceived character. I'll take over. The 2000 presidential election, for example, take that. In September of that year, the Bush campaign began running attack ads against Al Gore. These ads initially included slogans such as "He trusts the government, I trust you." You can come here and read the article on it from CBS News from 2000, by the way. Before pivoting into broader attacks on Al Gore's credibility and integrity, the effect was immediate. Subsequent surveys showed that voters were less likely to believe that Gore cared about them and less likely to describe him as honest. Notably, perceptions of his intelligence or competence did not significantly change. He wasn't seen as less knowledgeable or less capable. He was seen as less trustworthy, less sincere, and more like someone who didn't really care. Does this sound very familiar to all of you?
Yeah. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I
Then,
wonder what the Democratic attack ads are going to be.
indeed, they had no real rebuttal. Then, on September 19th of 2000, the Boston Globe reported that Gore had misled the public about the cost of prescription medicine. In a speech, Gore claimed that an arthritis drug used by his mother-in-law cost 3 times as much as the same medication prescribed for his dog. In reality, the anecdote wasn't drawn from his own personal life at all, but from a House Democrat study. It was a fabricated personal story in an attempt to make a broader policy issue feel immediate and relatable to the public. Between August and October, Gore's honesty ratings dropped by 9 points on a 100-point scale, while George W. Bush remained steady at around 60. Lenz found that voters who came to see Gore as dishonest shifted their support towards Bush. This is what all the Trump shit is about. People thought Trump was honest. People thought Trump was real. That's all this is about.
Yep.
It
fucking Al Gore. My God.
Yes, I know.
Oh,
it wasn't policy that moved them, nor even competence. Again, they thought he was intelligent. It was the perception of him as a politician and a person. In other words, vibes.
Bruh.
This tendency for perceptions of the person rather than the policymaker to guide voting behavior wasn't limited to Al Gore. Lenz examined 6 additional performance-related factors, such as honesty, and found similar results across the board. For example, people who became convinced that George H.W. Bush had done a good job in the Gulf War experienced an approximately 80% increase in overall support of the president. In contrast, simply being informed about what Bush had actually done, having factual knowledge of the situation, was associated with an only 20% increase. Here's the graph. Similarly, individuals who changed their opinions of Sarah Palin following her widely criticized and deeply embarrassing interviews with Katie Couric, which I've also linked here. These are, if you do, you remember this stuff?
Oh, vaguely, mate. It's been a yeah.
I know.
Sarah Palin, man,
where
that's a
Sarah
blast from the
Palin
past.
embarrassed the shit out of herself? Yeah.
Oh man.
Also adjusted their evaluations of her competence accordingly. The same dynamic appeared in perceptions of the economic performance in 1980, 1992, and 1996. When people shifted their views about how the economy was doing, they correspondingly shifted their evaluations of the politicians in charge. If you will continue, where are we now? We're now 2/3 through, so.
Yeah,
it is then the perception of the politicians.
My voice is gonna like give out.
I know, we're getting through there.
It is then the perception of a politician's performance, whether in honesty, competence, or some other trait, that actually moves the political needle, not politics nor policy. Perhaps this is because traits like honesty and competence
I think,
are far more
sorry. You've got an old version. This explains why new MAGA is seemingly unfazed by the Nobel Peace Prize aspirants' war of choice. They voted for Trump because they liked something about his personality, not because of his political position on Iran. Continue, perhaps.
Perhaps this is because traits like honesty and competence are far more salient and immediately legible to voters than policy positions, which are often abstract, complex, or easily ignored. If that is the case, then we might expect that when voters are properly informed about these policy positions of candidates or parties, they would update their preferences accordingly, choosing the leader who best aligns with their views before voting rather than needing to adjust these views after the fact. Lenz also examined the possibility that learning new information might change voting behavior and found that, generally speaking, it does not. Simply becoming more informed does not reliably shift voter preferences. A clear example of this phenomenon comes from British politics. As late as 1983, the Labour Party advocated for Britain's withdrawal from the European community,
That's what I was talking about earlier,
to the European Union, while the Conservative Party opposed it, rather than the other way around. By the late 1980s, the two parties had effectively reversed their positions, with the Conservatives adopting a more Eurosceptic stance and Labour moving towards integration.
You can quite literally see it here. It's in this graph so demonstrably. As the parties were switching sides, the British public was demonstrably, in the polling data, becoming increasingly averse to European integration. By 1997, Prime Minister John Major and the Conservatives attempted to capitalize on this shift in public sentiment. One Conservative advertisement in The Guardian that year warned, quote, a single currency would be... This is so crazy to read in retrospect, right? Quote, a single currency would be irreversible, would signal the end of sovereign Britain, would mean interest rates and mortgage rates set in Frankfurt, would open the way to a federal Europe. Wake up to the facts, Britain! Exclamation point. Vote Conservative on May 1st. That was a real advertisement. Major himself argued that, quote, Labour would surrender to a federal Europe. So, did the British public actually learn that Labour now supported integration while the Conservatives opposed it? No, not really. Lenz surveyed voters before and after the Conservative campaign to assess whether they could accurately identify each party's position on EU integration. The results were mixed at best. 44%, only 44% knew the correct positions. 21% learned them over time. 24% never learned them at all, never learned that whatsoever. And 11% learned them and later forgot, reverting to the incorrect belief that Labour was opposed to European integration and the Conservatives were in favor. You can see how less dramatic this graph is. This trend isn't unique to Britain nor to the 1990s. In the United States, 10% of voters learned that George W. Bush supported partial privatization of Social Security during the 2000 election. Another 5% learned this information and later forgot it. 24% of voters never learned that Jimmy Carter supported public works programs in 1976, with another 5% forgetting. 39% never learned that Ronald Reagan supported increased defense spending in 1980, and 9% forgot it. In the Netherlands, 23% of voters never learned that the Christian conservatives had opposed new nuclear power plants following Chernobyl in 1986, while 15% learned and forgot. Most curiously, many voters do not even learn the basic ideological positioning of the parties they support. During the 1992 US presidential election cycle, 26% of voters never learned that the Republican Party was ideologically to the right of the Democrat Party, and another 9% learned this but later forgot. In total, 35%, a third of the electorate, did not know which party was more conservative relative to the other, even as they participated in the election. Many of these voters supported Bill Clinton without necessarily understanding where he sat ideologically.
Dude.
Is that not insane to you guys? A third of voters don't even know that the Republicans are to the fucking right of the Democrats. In
This is how
1992.
we run our society now.
Exactly.
Awesome. Oh, I totally approve, dude.
This is why democracy is a farce. The key takeaway from Lens's research is difficult to reject. Voters are not primarily driven by policy, but often by poorly informed partisanship and evaluations of character. And, as we know, once people become partisan, which is what we spent a long time belaboring earlier in this stream, they tend to not only remain so, but to deepen that attachment over time. Thus, if partisanship is so durable and so detached from informed political reality, does it begin to shape not just how voters choose their elected officials, how they see the world? Does partisanship, in effect, create parallel realities? Would you pick up for me here for a second so I can take a little bit of a break? This is Druckmann, Peterson, and Slothis, 2011, to test this 2 experiments.
To test this, 2 experiments from Druckmann, Peterson, and Slothis, 2011, examined how partisanship and political polarization influence opinion formation on a variety of policy issues in a sample of self-identified Democrats and Republicans. One experiment focused on a proposal for oil and gas drilling, while the other examined immigration policy.
By the way, just want to say, these are elegant experiments. I really got to say that it's elegant research. Continue.
While the other examined immigration policy, specifically the DREAM Act. The researchers constructed both strong and weak arguments for and against each policy. The strong argument in favor of drilling focused on economic benefits, while the weak argument in favor suggested that drilling might lead to future technological developments. In contrast, the strong argument against drilling emphasized risks to workers and marine life, while
oh no, shit. Hello. Gotcha.
We right?
Yeah, it cut out for a second. Strong argument against drilling was where I was at.
Yes, in contrast, the strong argument against drilling emphasized risks to workers and marine life, while the weak argument focused on the potential for increased government regulation. A similar structure was used for the DREAM Act. The strong argument in favor highlighted how beneficiaries could go on to become doctors, teachers, and productive members of society, while the weak argument pointed to its general popularity. The strong argument against the act focused on the strain on public systems due to illegal immigration, while the weak argument criticized the politics of the policy's design. Participants were then placed in 2 different conditions.
I'll get you after this segment.
In the partisan and polarized conditions, they were told that the policies were supported by either Democrats or Republicans, and that the issues were politically divisive. Good priming.
That's the important... Oh,
yeah, right.
Wait till you see the results of this study.
They're unbelievable. In the non-partisan, non-polarized conditions, No party cues or references to polarization were provided. Participants were then asked for their opinions on the policies, how strongly they held these opinions, and how persuasive they
Persuasive, yeah.
found the arguments. Starting with drilling, when no partisan cues were given, i.e., that no indication that the Republicans or Democrats supported drilling, Democrats were more supportive of drilling when presented with a strong pro-drilling argument and a weak
Isn't
anti-drilling argument, and
that
more opposed when given the
insane?
reverse. Republicans, by contrast, tended to favor drilling when presented with strong arguments on both sides, while Democrats were more favorable when both arguments were weak.
Let's look at the graphs here.
Interesting.
These graphs are insane. I'll pick up from here. Sorry, I can. You're.
Yeah.
So, look at this shit. Republicans, Democrats were actually more in favor potentially of drilling when they look. This dark line here. Look at this second to the left graph, right? Democrats 18.8% support drilling when they are given a strong argument, and a weak conservative a strong pro drilling argument and a weak anti-drilling argument. Democrats 18.8% respect in favor. A similar pattern emerged with the Dream Act. Without partisan cues, Republicans were more supportive when presented with a strong pro-Dream Act argument and a weak anti-Dream Act argument, but also more opposed when given a strong anti-Dream Act argument and a weak pro-Dream Act argument compared to Democrats. Democrats, meanwhile, were less supportive when presented with two strong arguments on both sides, while Republicans headed towards neutrality in that condition. When both arguments were weak, Democrats supported the act, Republicans opposed it. Look at this! The light gray, that's Republicans supporting the Dream Act. 17.4% Republicans supported the Dream Act versus 14.8% of Democrats. Do you understand this shit's all fake and gay now? Do you got it? Sorry, got a little bit excited. Without partisan cues, then partisans will respond to argument quality, but not necessarily in ways that align with their official party positions. Democrats could be persuaded to support drilling even more strongly than Republicans when given compelling arguments, despite the Democratic Party generally opposing it. Likewise, Republicans could be persuaded to support the Dream Act even more strongly than Democrats under the right conditions, despite the Republican Party's general opposition. When partisan cues, however, wait till you see this. You see these graphs, guys? Wait till you see what fucking happens when I tell you that Republicans and Democrats support a thing and it's polarized. It's gonna get insane. When partisan cues were introduced, when participants were told which party supported which policy, the results shifted only slightly. Argument quality still mattered. Both Democrats and Republicans supported drilling when given a strong pro-drilling argument and weak opposing arguments, and still opposed it when given the reverse, even when they knew which party backed the policy. However, when participants were presented with either two strong arguments or two weak arguments, partisan alignment started to reassert itself. Democrats opposed drilling, Republicans supported it. What I really want to get to here is here in a second, though. The same pattern appeared with the Dream Act. When given mixed strength arguments, both groups could still be persuaded. But when argument quality was equal, either both strong or weak, partisan divisions appeared, with Democrats supporting the act and Republicans opposing it. This is where it gets insane, though. Up until this point, it seems that partisans can be persuaded, at least when the issue is presented in isolation and argument quality is clear. However, this changes once polarization enters the equation. When participants were told not only which party supported a policy, but also that the issue was politically polarizing. Understand what everything the Trump campaign is doing right now. It's all politically polarizing. Once you're told, oh, it's us versus them, the results became uniform. Look at these graphs. What did I say? Look at it. Same fucking thing. Same fucking thing. Same fucking thing here. versus here, when I tell you it's a politically polarizing issue. When participants were not only told which party supported the policy, but that the issue was politically polarizing, the results became uniform. Democrats opposed drilling when they knew Democrats opposed it, and they knew the issue was divisive, regardless of argument quality. And the same thing happened on the right. Republicans supported drilling under the same conditions, again, regardless of the strength. This is what they thought beforehand. But when you said it, this is what they thought beforehand, they were more supportive of not drilling.
Dude.
And yet, when you say, look at that, it's an incomprehensible fucking graph. You just tell them the Democrats hate this. Look what they do. Democrats do the same thing. Don't get it twisted. Democrats do the same thing. It's all just team sports bullshit. It helped with the DREAM Act, and it helped for drilling. That is, partisans are capable of evaluating arguments rationally until they are reminded that the issue is politically contested. Once polarization is salient, argument quality stops mattering. What matters instead is only which side you are on. We saw in Lens's research that policy doesn't drive voting behavior. Here we begin to see why. It's not simply that voters are uninformed, they often are. It's that under conditions of polarization, information becomes irrelevant to identity. When politics is not polarized, people are able to assess issues based on argument quality and often select policies that don't fall along party lines. When politics is polarized, they take sides. Once sides are taken, the predictable follows. For many voters, Trump's Iran policy is not being evaluated as a discrete question of justification or alignment with prior promises, but instead as a polarized signal. Partisans are capable of rational evaluation until the issue becomes polarized, at which point argument quality no longer matters, only partisanship. Once these polarized cues diverge, so too does seemingly reality itself. The tendency for people to not just misunderstand their own party positions, but to ignore or even reinvent reality in order to protect their prior political beliefs was examined by Nyhan and Reifler in 2010 across a series of experiments. In their first study, conducted in 2005, university students were asked to read a mock news article. There's more research here because it's me, so of course there is. Were asked to read a mock news article that included a real quote from President George W. Bush, suggesting that Saddam Hussein had... This is maybe the most important article, I think, of the entire thing, because this is of incredible relevance to the Iran situation. A real quote from George W. Bush suggesting that Saddam Hussein possessed weapons of mass destruction. Some participants were also given a correction drawn from the Dufler report, which documented the absence of WMDs in Iraq. After reading the articles, respondents were asked whether or not Iraq had possessed such weapons. If you would get this for me for a second, because I'm starting to run out of fucking steam. This stuff's where it actually gets insane, that you cannot... Once these people are into this, they're in the mindset. They cannot be persuaded out of it, and they go insane.
Participants who identified as very liberal became even more likely to report that there were no WMDs after reading the corrected article, while those identifying as liberal or centrist showed little change. However, among those who identified as right of center, a boomerang effect occurred. That is, right-leaning participants were more likely to report that Iraq had WMDs after reading both Bush's statement and the correction. So I don't know why I'm doing
Can I just reiterate the insanity that was just reported there?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right-leaning participants who read a correction and said there's no WMDs in Iraq went, there's WMDs in Iraq. Because Bush told me that.
I guess this is reactance.
It is
Basically,
essentially,
I'm not going to believe what the liberal media says about them WMD.
But here's the thing. It didn't matter because they read two versions of these reports, either from Fox News or the New York Times. It didn't matter. They just erased it from their memory and went, no, Iraq's got WMDs because George Bush said so. In other words, when presented with evidence that a Republican president had been wrong, Republican-leading respondents became more likely to believe the original falsehood. And I gotta tell you guys something about this that I don't really like admitting, but it's the truth. Conservatives are worse at this. Right-leaning people are worse at this. The leftists are better at this than conservatives are. When conservatives get lied to, they believe that shit way, way more intensely. You are being lied to by Donald J. Trump. And you're not people here, but people around you are believing it. Would you continue with participants who identify as very liberal?
Wait. Hang on.
That's where we are.
Right-leaning participants are more likely to report that Iraq had WMDs after reading both Bush's statement and the correction. That's disconcerting, but there's something of a silver lining. These effects are not permanent. Nine and Rifler replicated the experiment in 2006, this time varying the source of the article, either the New York Times or Fox News, while again including the Bush's claim and the correction. This time the results flipped, but only under certain conditions. Among respondents who did not consider Iraq to be the most important issue facing the country, very liberal participants who read the correction became more likely to believe that Iraq had WMDs. What?
Yes. Yes. Isn't it insane? They read an article that said, like, Iraq doesn't have WMDs, and conservatives went, Iraq's got WMDs.
However, among those who did view Iraq as the most important issue, the original pattern re-emerged. Liberals were less likely to believe the falsehood, while conservatives were more likely to believe it even after correction. Notably, the source of the article itself, either the New York Times or Fox News, made no meaningful difference. What this suggests is that whether or not partisans accept corrections depends less on the content of the information and more on how important the issue is to them. The more central the issue, the more likely it is to activate polarized defensive processing. Further, this can change over time.
This is the good part. Look, guys, this is the silver lining. Eventually, all the Iran retards will figure this out. And then they'll pretend they never thought any of it, which is going to be really, really annoying. But I would say just give them a little bit of grace, because they're going to pretend that they never thought any of this shit. It's been happening with WMDs in Iraq. It's going to happen with the WMDs in Iran. They're going to pretend, they're like, I never thought that. They're going to do that to you.
Like the COVID vax.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to pretend they never thought it. They're going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Those people in your life, they're going to be super obnoxious. This is why they're doing it. So.
It's social media is going to put a bit of a dent in that, though.
A bit,
because it will be possible to like literally go back through someone's timeline and be
you
like,
could do that with COVID, and what did it do? And it did nothing. It just
good point.
Yeah, sure. They're not going to do anything about it. They're just going to go, whatever. I did whatever. I changed my mind. You know how the COVID idiots were about that stuff? They're going to just say, like, they're going to shrug their shoulders and go,
I got to go and get a drink. This is going much longer than I had.
Yeah, well, we're almost done. We're almost done.
Hang on, let me
go ahead. What this suggests is that whether or not partisans accept corrections depends less on the content of the information and more on how important the issue is to them. Sorry, we're reading some stuff. The more central the issue, the more likely it is to activate polarized defensive processing. Further, this can change over time, and this is the cool part. This is perhaps unsurprising in the context of Iraq. The claim that Iraq possessed WMDs was the central justification for a war that cost American lives and resources. If that premise is false, much like Iran being weeks away from a nuclear weapon, then the war becomes much harder to justify. This creates a significant cognitive dissonance, psychological discomfort, which in turn creates pressure to maintain the false belief. But does this pattern extend beyond the context of WMDs in Iraq? And yes, friends, it does. Nyland and Reifler tested this potential using other issues, namely tax cuts. Participants read an article, again attributed either to the New York Times or to Fox News. Thank you, Biddy. Or to Fox News, featuring a quote from Bush claiming that, quote, tax relief stimulated economic vitality and growth and helped increase revenues for the Treasury. Some participants were also given a correction explaining that tax revenues, both in absolute terms and also a share of GDP, declined following the 2001 tax cuts. After reading the article, participants were asked whether Bush's tax cuts had increased government revenue. So, in other words, they asked about a falsehood, and to figure out if they were told it was a falsehood, and could they recognize the truth, much like with the WMDs. Once again, conservatives who read the correction were more likely to believe that the tax cuts had increased revenue, while liberals were less likely to believe it. However, there was an important moderating factor: political knowledge. Across ideological lines, participants who were more politically knowledgeable were more likely to correctly report that the tax cuts had not increased revenue. Not all partisans are equally susceptible to these effects. Hello, partisan, I suppose here. I'm a far-right fucking freak. I think the problem is that...
But it seems to be talking about low knowledge partisans.
Specifically,
really.
It is.
Yeah.
It is low knowledge, which is, that's what, specifically here. He's talking about low knowledge people, yes. If you're low knowledge, this shit affects you. If you're high knowledge, it doesn't. If you want to know the true answer, after fucking 3 hours of us talking about this, as to why you've got the MAGA split, let me explain it to you. It's high IQ versus low IQ. And I'm not calling Candace Owens at all essentially high IQ. But what it is high IQ versus low IQ. I'm sorry. I'm a statistician. What the fuck do you want me? You want to give you some fucking bullshit? Tell you, oh, Donald Trump has never done any wrong. He's the best. Fuck off. I'm a statistician. You're not gonna get that kind of shit from me. I'm gonna tell you the truth, which might be a little bit painful, but the pain will set you free or something. I don't know. Look, you'll never get lies from me. I can't. I literally. I don't know. NewsFist, you've known me now for 6 years, 5 years. I can't lie to people because it would be insane to me to do so.
Well, it would also be unautistic.
Yeah, it would be unautistic. I won't lie to anyone. If you would like someone to lie to you, go watch Ben Shapiro. I'm not gonna do that. Have him lie to you, Goyim cattle. Congratulations, I guess. I'm not gonna do that. Anyway, across ideological lines, participants who were more politically knowledgeable were more likely to correctly report the tax cuts had not increased revenue. Not all partisans are equally susceptible to these effects. Knowledge appears to mitigate them, at least to some extent.
Yeah, right.
We're almost at the end of it. Will you get this part? Given that both WMDs, will you give that? I'll be right back.
Okay.
Sorry.
Given that both the WMD claim and the tax revenue claim originated from the Bush administration, it might be tempting to conclude that this effect is limited to conservative partisans. But Nyan and Riefler tested that contention as well. They turned next to an issue where Democrats were more likely to accept misinformation: stem cell research. During the 2004 presidential campaign, Democratic candidates claimed that Bush had banned stem cell research. In reality, he had restricted federal funding for new research conducted after 2001, but not banned it outright. Participants were again presented with a mock article attributed either to the New York Times or Fox News containing these claims, with some also receiving a correction. Afterwards, they were asked whether Bush had banned stem cell research. Here, the pattern was slightly different. Democrats who read the correction were somewhat less likely to believe the false claim, but the effect was not statistically significant. Meanwhile, respondents on the right and center were significantly less likely to believe the falsehood after reading the correction. In other words, while there was no strong boomerang effect among liberals, they were also comparatively resistant to updating their beliefs. Even when corrected, misinformation about the opposing party tended to persist. Across all of these studies, one thing remained consistent: the source of the information, whether the New York Times or Fox News, had little to no effect. What mattered was the
Yeah.
source of the claim itself, whether it came from a Democrat or Republican political figure. This suggests that political elites play a central role in shaping how voters perceive reality. But how? In an initial experiment from Bullock 2011, partisan participants were randomly assigned to read a detailed newspaper article about healthcare policy in Wisconsin. The article described.
I'll put a
Sorry,
pause here. Sorry, because we're going to move into a new study. By the way, am I demonstrating? I think the reality as to why you should pay for this. If you buy this stuff for me, hello, you just click on all these research, verify you're human. You'll be able to get access to all these papers if you are so inclined to actually download it right there. You'll get access to all this stuff. You'll be able to read it on your own terms. I am not trying to hide, nor in any way. I would like you guys to all read this. Like, I don't make this shit up, you know? That being said, sorry, we should continue. The Bullock stuff, this is, I think, the last paper? Is it the last proper paper? And
Mate, 3 hours.
we're so close. I know, we're so close. And then we're gonna close out after this. We're at right at the end of the
I had no idea this thing was so long.
Well, we did kind of just waffle for about 2 hours before we got into
true.
it. So
That's true.
The Bullock paper 2011. Continue, please. You will, sir.
Right. So yes, Bullock. Partisan participants were randomly assigned to read a detailed newspaper article about healthcare policy in Wisconsin. The article described either a Democratic or Republican legislators proposing to expand or restrict healthcare benefits. After reading it, participants were asked whether or not they supported the policy. Democratic participants were more supportive of liberal policy changes when proposed by Democrats than when proposed by Republicans.
Duh.
But they were also more supportive of conservative policy changes when those same changes were proposed by Democrats. The reverse was true for Republican participants. They were more supportive of conservative policies when proposed by Republicans, but also more supportive of liberal policies when those policies were endorsed by Republicans.
Make this shit clear. If a Republican comes out there and goes like, I'd like to make gays in charge of everything, Republicans will support it. This is the problem, okay?
Yeah. The identity of the messenger mattered more than the content of the policy.
It did. This is not like theoretical. This is demonstrable. It's in the data. The effects were statistically significant for both groups, although somewhat stronger among Republicans. Republicans are worse for this. For example, the median Democratic response to liberal policy proposals was somewhat approved when Democrats were supported, yet 21% of Democrats still disapproved. Among Republicans, the median response under the same conditions was slightly disapproved, yet 17% still expressed approval. There was some resistance, but the directional pull remained clear. Republicans, I'm trying to make this shit clear to you and get this through to your... Guys, get this through your heads. Republicans are the most fucking easily persuadable people on earth. They just buy shit. Quite literally and physically, they buy shit stupidly. Republicans are terrible at this, and we need to fucking figure this shit out and what to do about it. Like, conservatives they'll just, oh, look, a Democrat supported something I like, therefore I'll support the Democrat. Democrats don't do that, okay? Not to the same capacity. They will to an extent, but not to the way Republicans will. Bullock also found, and I have to end with this because it is the most important finding, that need for cognition, the extent to which individuals enjoy thinking deeply, moderated these effects. Among Democrats, those high in need for cognition were more likely to shift their views in response to elite cues. Among Republicans, however, those high in need for cognition showed little to no such shift, and in some cases even moved slightly in the opposite direction. This suggests that susceptibility to elite influence is not uniform, and that, quote, thinking more does not necessarily make one less responsive to partisan cues. In some cases, it may simply make one more capable of justifying them. I should note, and this is the important part that's disconcerting, that need for cognition, this moderating variable here, has been found to be related to higher general intelligence, fluid intelligence, and crystallized intelligence, while being unrelated to working memory, as demonstrated in a robust study of U.S. Undergraduate students from Hill and College 2012. Of course, people of any political leaning can fall anywhere on the spectrum of intelligence, but Bullock's findings suggest that how need for cognition, used here as a proxy, a rough proxy for intelligence, interact with partisanship does appear to differ across party lines. Am I saying Republicans are retarded? Yes. Sorry. The data demonstrate it fully. Not all Republicans, not all conservatives, but there is a coalition, there's a portion of Republicans who are fucking retarded.
Yeah, well, that's manifestly true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is quite interesting, this next bit. Specifically, low need for cognition stupid Democrats seem more able to detect and support policy signals that align with their underlying beliefs, regardless of the political orientation of the politician delivering them. In contrast, stupid Republicans appear more likely to rely on the political identity of the politician to determine whether or not they support a policy. For these voters, those stupider, it is often politician and party first, policy second, the signaler before the signal. For stupid Democrats, the tendency tends to run in the opposite direction. The signal is more important than
this is the most important part of the entire article, I believe, is that low retard Democrats can be like, oh, I recognize that's a thing I like in terms of policy. Republicans can't figure it out. They can't figure it. They go like, oh, Trump supports it, therefore I support it. This is fucked. Democrats, as stupid as they may be, can figure out, like, I want to redistribute the wealth, right? They can figure that out. They can notice it and go, yes, that's what I want. I want to redistribute the wealth. They don't care who says it. For Republicans, it is the antithesis. They just go, I like Donald Trump. They don't give a fuck about what he does.
I like Trump. Ooh.
Yes. This is the difference. Retard Democrats can figure out, oh, I like this policy because I want the wealth to be redistributed to me because I'm a word I can't say. You know what word I might be thinking of. It starts with an N. Anyway, they can figure that out. Low IQ Republicans just go, I like Donald Trump. This is not my hypothesis. It is laid out in empirical data. I don't like being on this side, by the way. Unfortunately, I am. The problem with so much of this Iran shit is that I'm way further fucking right than everyone. Than these people who do this shit. Who are like, I like Donald Trump.
I mean, it is not merely that voters lack information. They do. But even when voters are informed, when they are partisan and conditions are polarized, information becomes entirely subordinate to political identity. It is not feeling so much as identity that does not care about facts for partisans of any denomination. Identity instead becomes a filter through which information is reinterpreted and in some cases outright rejected in order to twist reality such that it aligns with prior political commitments.
Yep.
Interesting.
You have to twist it. If we examine the totality of the research reviewed in this article, a consistent pattern appears across decades of research, disparate countries, and political, another missing Oxford comma, whatever, and political systems. People overwhelmingly do not vote based on policy, nor based on information, but rather based on personal political identity and in maintenance of behavioral consistency. Each subsequent vote one casts becomes a psychological justification for past voting behavior and sets expectations for future voting behavior. Partisanship is formed through democratic participation itself and reinforced through repeat voting. Votes are not cast for those with good policy, but those who are perceived as having good character. When these perceptions are threatened, voters tend not to revise them, but instead defend previous perceptions, often against any and all evidence to the contrary. Anything is justifiable in the avoidance of cognitive dissonance. See the next one?
Trump's war of choice in Iran has not just divided the American public, but fractured the MAGA coalition, not because of genuine ideological differences, but because of that dissonance. What is framed as disagreements over policy, questions of war justification, strategic soundness, and keeping campaign promises, is really nothing more than a disagreement of identity fueled by dissonance. Those who have made MAGA part of their core personality, identity, risk their very sense of self in disagreeing with or even questioning actions from a president that they not only voted for, but often supported at great personal cost. I mean, you can see this with...
This is what is so important about this.
Trump's oldest supporters can often say they have lost friends and families over their support. They have often spent considerable time, energy, and even money in aid of that support. All of these investments and personal costs exacerbate the dissonance and make breaking rank feel not only like betrayal, but psychologically painful. In order to avoid that pain, reality itself must be contorted and reconstructed. What we are witnessing in the MAGA civil war...
Sorry, I got a little bit more stuff in...
oh, is it...
Yes, there's slight differences between what I sent you and very slight. The MAGA civil war is not just some political disagreement. It is cognitive dissonance at scale. For those experiencing dissonance driven by polarization and partisanship, information is of no concern. I proved that in the data. You don't give a fuck about information. Not you guys in the chat, but you know who I'm talking about. They do not care. I showed you in the data. They don't give a single shit. Identity alone becomes the driving factor of political behavior and belief. Democracy is, in this way, demonstrably and empirically the opiate of the masses. It keeps those thoroughly entrenched in political identity living in a parallel reality of their own creation, constructed to facilitate the avoidance of dissonance, of psychic pain. This is not limited to the identity constructs of left nor right, but is instead a natural function of democracy. Again, this is a feature, not a bug. Any democratic system will inevitably lead to partisanship, polarization, and therefore to dissonance. The only palliative to alleviate this social disease is treatment of its ultimate causal and cancerous mechanism, democracy itself. There's my fucking monarchist fucking manifesto, bro.
That was like a PhD thesis. Holy crap, man.
There it is. There is my monarchist manifesto.
So, democracy delenda est.
Democracy delenda est. Indeed. This was a weird thing to write, but the data are incontrovertible. Like, I went through, I didn't set out to write this to find this conclusion. And I never do. Whenever I go out to, like, write something in it, I'm like, I don't know. What's going on? Well, that is the position that an academic should hold, is I don't know. And I don't know. However,
I mean, I guess this actually makes sense, really. You know, you're sort of leaning on sort of subtle, personal, and kind of tribal cues rather than anything else. Although I got to say, the data on just how people wouldn't even revise their
yeah,
positions when
when
presented with
they
information on the contrary
literally
is
got it.
quite
That's the
quite
part.
disturbing.
Like I said, I try to. I think I maybe do things the wrong way because like I'm always building. That's how I think you should make an article. Is it like I'm gonna start with some whatever. This is uncontroversial, and then I build up to give you the fucking big thing at the end. Um, I've learned, I think, over the years that that's not what people want in maybe in articles, not in YouTube videos, maybe. But we're just
That
like,
was a banger ending, though. I got to say, very
yeah,
nice ending.
well, I try to build to a denouement, right? I do. That's what I try to, is I'm gonna build to the that's how we're taught to write in doctoral school. In doc school, we're taught to write that way. And then I learned like that's not what people want. They want like the banger at the front. And I don't like writing that way, personally. You know? I wanna bring you in with a little bit of a little teasing, you know?
You gotta. What you really need to do is write these short enough that they could be a TikTok video.
Yeah, I can't do that. I've
Oh, well,
tried.
you're gonna be left behind, and it's a new world.
It sure is.
If you can't post it on Truth Social, is it even really worth reading?
Is it even really real, honestly? Thank you so much for hanging out with me through the very, very long article. I knew it was long. Um, however, if you enjoyed this article, I would say subscribe to my Substack. This will be eventually become a video on Aiden Paladin. This particular article will be almost in the exact same way it's presented. I have no real intention to change it. But I also have a new video that I'm probably gonna work on first for the new channel, which is about shape rotation. Look, women can't rotate shapes, dude. You know that?
Yeah, I do know that. There's the thing with the water in the glass.
Yeah, women. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think maybe I made that more salient. Women
Yeah.
can't rotate shapes. They can't. I couldn't. I didn't know this. I've got a glass in front of me. It's like, why can women not figure out that when you rotate a glass, the water they can't. Or overwhelmingly, it's like 80% of women can't figure it out. So
Yeah, that's fucking weird.
that will be the next video on my new channel, Science Sybil. This will be. Thank you for the 20 slosh here, by the way. Thank you so much. This will be the next video on the Eden Paladin channel. Is this article? If you like the stuff that I do here, politically, stay subscribed to this Substack because I'm not gonna post anything but political articles on the Substack. It's a political Substack. I think that the title of it is called Notes on the Nature of the Political Animal or something to that effect. So it will be Substack is politics, Aiden Paladin is politics. That's what you're gonna get here on this channel and on this Substack. However, the new channel, Science Sybil. Oh, God, this is important. Okay, tomorrow, Oozlu and I are gonna do. I did say this earlier, but Oozlu and I are gonna do a science stream, which I think will probably just be like me covering some random scientific stuff that I'm vaguely interested in that has nothing to do with anything else politics related. We're gonna talk about for example, the apes taking over Uganda, for example. I mean, that's a tautology, you know.
there might be apes taking over your gander, but there's no apes taking over my gander. I'm telling you that much.
But did you hear about this? But how like a bunch of fucking monkeys, chimps have taken again, like say it's a tautology, but whatever. Anywho,
They're such peaceful animals,
beautiful.
you know, until they're not.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Anywho, NewsFist, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Did you learn anything? Did you find anything interesting in my shitty article or what?
Mate, that was a bit fucking much. I honestly did not think it was like that long because I only got the opening like segment. Yeah,
welcome to my
I'm
bullshit, you know.
That's gonna give me like something to.
Dude, if you thought this was long, look at this. Let me go. This one, the immigration mutation effect. You thought that was long? Look at this. This one's twice the length, and it's
for God's sake. Mate,
this one's literally twice the length.
Your autism is out of control.
Well,
Aiden.
Yeah, a bit.
But thank you very much for having me. I mean, look, I think, I don't know, I guess it's just sort of data for stuff that everyone really knew, well, everyone with the brain sort of really knew already. But it does give an interesting light to how, you know, the political class is always banging on about like polarization and stuff. Like, well, I mean, what do you want? Well, you know, if this research suggests that it's baked into democracy, and none of these kind of people would ever, of course, ever suggest that we should do away with the holy democracy. So instead, it tends to come out like they're always like, well, what we need is like more censorship, and we need to like start excluding more people from the political process because, you know, it's very dangerous that, you know, I mean, look, just admit it doesn't fucking work. This is what annoys the fuck out of me about
why can't we admit
the multilateralists?
Why can't we admit that? That democracy is a sham.
Because World War II, dude.
Yes.
Right? Because if we don't have democracy, what have we got? Fascism. Because apparently, like
that's apparently the only other system, right?
That's the entire political scale now. There's democracy and fascism, and communism for some weird reason never gets
monarchy.
No. Well, look.
Aiden, look, I'm not in favor of King Charles. He sucks.
You got to stop living in the past, Aiden. Right?
You're always gonna come back to the past.
Monarchy is like from the old world, right? Like we have progressed now. Okay, right? Like, like we are the Whig view of history. Okay, right?
Oh, don't get me started on the Whig view of history. I'm about to get.
We have decided, right, by ourselves without any input, right? Because, you know, we're the smart people who hang out in the university, you know, in the student council, student union, right? That
we're in the student union right now.
The future of the world is more democracy and more representation, more women, and more trannies, and more browns, and infinity Bamalians, and that's how we get to the progressive future. It just is. You gotta stop living in the past.
Wow, we didn't know that. Now,
the thing that like I find really funny about this, right, is the way shit's going in the UK. The most likely form of monarchism we're going to get is like Ottoman Empire shit, right? Where the
now, what I would like
and declare an Ayatollah.
I'll give my brief opinion on that, which is that if Rupert Lowe doesn't win, or if Rupert Lowe sucks, which is a very real possibility, it's over. It's the democratic fucking experiment in the United Kingdom is over. The people will overthrow the government. I don't think there's any other way around it. And I would hate to see. I love the UK. I love the British people. And I don't want to see that happen to them. Because if it happens in the UK, and by the way, it will happen in France first, just historically. It'll happen in France first. If France overthrows their government, then it's the UK next. And maybe the UK will supersede France. Typically, that's not how it works. Typically, the French do it first. I mean that because there's a long, and you know this, long storied history of the French doing it first.
Yep. All right, listen, I gotta go. My voice is like totally.
We're at 11 o'clock now, UK time.
Can I just do a quick shilling before?
Go do your shilling, and then I will. I think I have anything. I'll post just the thing for Shieldings again. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So check out my channel, NewsFist. You can find me on
He is
YouTube. Also
linked
Rumble and Aussie.
below.
And on Monday you can check out Fistery, which will be part 2 of the Legend of the Golem, where we examine Rosenberg's kind of weird fan fiction that he wrote in 1906.
Me.
He basically like made up. So most of the modern legend of the Golem in Prague is basically from this guy like Rosenberg in like 1906, and he's like, oh, you know, I discovered this like 300-year-old like manuscript in the Library of Metz, and no. And it's all bullshit, and it's really funny to read because it's obvious that it's all bullshit. It's like his fictional headcanon of like how Christians behaved in medieval Europe, which is completely different to how Christians actually behaved in medieval Europe. So that's kind of like funny, fun. And on Tuesdays and Fridays, I stream with Rhetorically Defective over on his channel, Artie and Fist. And on Thursdays, you can check out Clown Based Lifeform. Look, just go to my channel. There's a ton of stuff there.
I got it up on stream right now. NewsFist.net. I'll post it here in the chat here real quick for people.
Yep, newsfist.net.
Go check out newsfist.net. Yes, indeed. Check out NewsFist. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, which what I know must have been a...
It was a bit longer than I anticipated, as I said to my bull.
Oh, did you tell him that? I know what must have been a bit of a look at deal with me for 3 hours, 4 hours. That's very rough. Steven has to do it every week, so that's very difficult for him. What I will also shill to you, myself, my friends, is Shieldings, which I will also post here in the chat in a moment. If you are in the UK or you have any interest in coming to the UK, check this out as well. The Wittan 2026. I cannot overemphasize to you how much fun these events are. They are expensive, but understand, again, you get your room and your food comped. So, as part of that ticket price. So, if you are interested in Shieldings, check it out. Please, you come and meet me. I don't know who all is going to be there. Typically, it usually is Sargon and AA, but they've not committed. That doesn't mean they won't be there.
Yeah, but look, Woes will be there.
Woes will be there. Apostolic Majesty will be there.
The most intellectual curmudgeon, apart from AA.
Harry and I will be there. Harry and I are basically, like, if you combine us together, are basically AA, so... I think there's something to that effect. Come and check us out if you have any interest in this kind of stuff and you're either willing to come to the United Kingdom or you live here. Please come and check it out, and go check out NewsFist. Thank you so much for tolerating me for a couple of hours and going through that very long article.
Good. I just like my
it was a bit of a fucking thing. So I've also got your stuff up on here. I've got it up on the chat. Go check out NewsFist. He's been a good friend of mine now for 5 years, man.
Ages, yeah.
Forever. So, all right, guys. Only other couple of things I have to say is that look out both here and on the Science Sybil channel. There will be new videos. I've got both scripts written. I just had to know. I've been away for a month to go hang out with friends and see people. And mostly just get sick and throw up on their floors. Unironically, what most of my trip was about was getting sick and throwing up on people's floors. That being said, you're going to see new videos from me very soon on both channels. So thank you all so much for hanging out. It was a relatively small stream, but thank you for showing up on this channel. And I will see you all very soon. Love you guys. See you soon. And bye-bye.
Good night.
Alrighty, we're out.
Oh, mate, that was I had no idea that was